That is St. John's College from DC. I mentioned they had the #1 time in this section. Also, West Orange from New Jersey was up front. They are AM. But St. John's College with Arnold, Frisbee, Omatessa, and Rock scheduled to be on the baton, first lap down in 55 points. So they are not messing around as St. Joseph's Prep from the state of Pennsylvania, your new leader, and things are starting to stretch out. How many teams will have to run in the 740s to qualify for tomorrow's final? We will soon find out. Noon toward the front, we saw Team AV, that's Montgomery Blair of Maryland. And again, lots of movement in this opening leg. Manheim Township, the Pennsylvania squad, starting to open things up. Heffley, Kingston, Kemper, and Stevens scheduled to run this race, the prelim race, in the 4x800 relay. Again, 4 heats, 12 teams. We're going to come back tomorrow night at 5:55. 153, great opening leg for Manheim Township.
For Manheim Township, St. Joseph Prep, St. John's College.
And a great camera shot as you'll get all weekend long. About 8 meters or so, getting a little tighter down the back straight. And that is St. Joe's Prep in the #2 spot, and a little bit more of open real estate back to 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Still, Manheim Township, a 7:47.43 performer. Coming into the Penn Relays, the qualifying performances had to be turned in late March, and could have come from the indoor season or outdoor season in most of the events. And Manheim getting some separation as they race in front of the iconic scoreboard and stadium here at Franklin Field. Again, built in 1895. The first event was this grand Penn Relays Carnival. And the entire field encompasses more than a full straightaway as Manheim Township, St. Joseph's Prep, 1-2.
Still Manheim Township.
Going to pass the stick for the second time, opening at 153.
St. Joseph's Prep.
348, so 155 on that one for our leaders. Manheim Township, they came through the zone, added just a little bit of real estate to their lead over St. Joseph's Prep. St. Joseph's Prep has run 7:52.43, and with a 3-day event like this, how you handle your personnel, extremely important for the coaching staff and the athletes if they are in either of the distance individual events, the mile or 3,000.
To West Orange and Calabar.
So we get a shot there of the top 3 teams: Manheim Township, St. Joseph's Prep, and that is St. John's College, our top performing team coming in. They're going to make a move. Going to move up to the #2 spot and have just about 10 meters to make up on our leaders, Manheim Township. So again, St. John's College, the foursome: Arnold, Frisbee, Omatessa, and Rock. St. Joe's Prep, Pop, Mallory, Williams, and Falcon. And it is a battle developing, folks. There's the top 3 in our opening race of dozens throughout the weekend at this year's Penn Relays Carnival. And what a move by the top team in this field, the 7:42.40 by St. John's College. And you just saw the focus in his eyes as he made that move.
top returners for the year
And looking
go.
for his
They're now
teammate
in
for
the
that
lead
open
on
hand. They can
FloTrack.
pass the baton. A great view of the traffic that they will encounter. But nobody in front of St. John's College with Manheim Township looking strong right now. Once again, the top 12 times. We'll be back tomorrow.
Haverford and Calabar in fourth and fifth. 154.92 was the last split for St. John's College.
Our top two teams are getting a little closer. Manheim Township
St. John's
not out of
College.
this by any means, as they will get the bell this time by.
1-2 right now.
And I've mentioned it over the years that a lot of times teams will come out and run just as fast. In this meet in the last weekend in April, 6:44 on the clock, as they might at their state championship meet. Manheim Township, St. John's College,
West Orange, Calabar,
from Pennsylvania
Haverford.
and the District of Columbia.
Back in fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Down the back straight, side by
Everyone
side.
chasing the clock. Trying to hit that 7-8 mark.
Again, this scene I am certain will be repeated many times. We'll see a slam in the door, the anchor runner for St. John's College did not give much room for that Manheim Township runner along the rail to continue this hot pace. Again, side by side, going into the turn, coming past the long jump pit, the high jump pit, past the long jump pit, headed for home. St. John's College, Manheim Township, just the first race of the weekend at the Penn Relays. 740 point unofficial. What a run right off the bat. 740.65 for St. John's College. Manheim Township also 740.69.
And 3 all time in the prelims.
So one of the top performances
the first race
ever
of the
in
day.
the prelims of this high school boys 4x8 relay. There are the numbers of the top 5, and we see St. Joe's Prep also in the 740s. Will that get them in tomorrow's championship final? 3 more races to decide that.
If Penn Relays finally got some great weather, it's a good omen for this weekend. And we're going to see some fast times. Up next on the track, going to be a bit 1 and 2. Later these some teams after the gun.
And once again, if you're just joining us live on FloTrack for the first time with our coverage of the Penn Relays, not much time in between heats. They keep this meet moving along simply because there are so many races, so many levels of competition. From middle schoolers all the way up to masters athletes, and of course the collegiate runners are going to be mixed in here throughout the day, today, tomorrow, and on Saturday. Top teams across the U.S. headed to Franklin Field. Love that shot overhead. Oh, drop baton.
Council Rock North, North Canaan, St. Francis, Twin Valley.
Unfortunate situation is already having to make up some territory.
Shoreham, Rainy River, William Mibb, they're the number 2 team out of Jamaica. North Huntington, Oratory.
The top time coming in this one is IMG Academy out of Florida. They are the team BA, and you see them sitting in the number 3 spot. And our leader right now, one of the Jamaican teams, Edwin Allen.
Lucky On is giving away a head-to-toe kit every day at noon. Winners will be called at the On store in Carnival Village. You need to be there to win. Don't miss your chance to be On's fastest athlete and On athlete.
Edwin Allen, a 7:52.
12 to 2 p.m.
clocking thus far in 2025.
If you have a friend and family that couldn't make it to the event,
The team that unfortunately was sort of put behind the 8 ball, as they used to say, St. Francis from Puerto Rico, starting to move their way up. They lost the baton in the opening strides, but hopefully that will not affect their race that much, as IMG Academy in the number 2 spot on the prowl. Shoreham Wading River from New York, trying to hold off all challengers, as Christian Brothers out of Tennessee, this one has pulled up on the shoulder Jarrell Winston, scheduled to be on the stick for Shoreham Wading River, but it is Christian Brothers, Edwards, Mullinex, Hunter, and Jones. 155 the opener, and they really added to that lead going through the exchange on there. You see their advantage coming out of it. And the largest we have seen, again, only race number 2, but already setting the tone as IMG Academy moves up into the number 2 spot. And Monsignor Farrell from New York, currently in third, a 155.52 opening carry for the leaders from Christian Brothers. That's second, third, and fourth. IMG Academy trying to close the gap. And there you see that big lead for Christian Brothers.
Monsignor Farrell.
And the rest of the field in heat number 2.
Homewood Tech leading that chase group.
For the boys 4x800 relay, opening day at the 129th Penn Relays.
Christian Brothers, IMG, Monsignor Farrell, still the order.
Here's our leading team, Christian Brothers, Joe Edwards, Noah Mullinex, Dylan Hunter, and Chaz Jones, scheduled to be on the track. And hopefully headed toward a spot in tomorrow's late afternoon final, 3:51. So they're on 7:42 pace.
Edwin Allen, Homewood Tech, Monsignor Farrell, and Saratoga Springs.
It's a solo effort thus far. And the 4x8, the 800 is my favorite event. There is no doubt about it. Used to run that back in the day. In the 4x8, so many things can happen. Everybody loves the 4x4, but to me, the 4x8 can have twice as many twists and turns and ebbs and flows as those runners in the second, third, and fourth legs many times really can't run their normal 800-meter race simply because of their position on the track. They may have to expend just a little more energy early on in the race if they have a big lead like the folks from Christian Brothers. As you see the pain on the face of our leader. Maybe they'll dial it back a little bit, settle in with the rest of the groups, and then kick hard on that second lap. The 800 I've always called the 400 dash, 400 die. And we see Christian Brothers great difficulty on this third leg, as here comes IMG Academy and Edwin Allen. What a push, that 154 second carry by the team from Edwin Allen in Jamaica. Wilson, Morgan, Anderson, and Johnson giving chase to IMG Academy. Abreu, Dodds, Brighty, and Dunbar, the scheduled runners for IMG out of Florida. And looking back in the field, as IMG and Edwin Allen almost together to the line. 5:51 with 800 meters left. And the exchange zone still very busy. Runners trying to find their teammates, hands up, searching back for that baton. And there's our lead duo, IMG Academy. Opened at 157.4, then a 158, and a third carry 155.5. Nice run to put them in the lead by just a half a second over Edwin Allen. Edwin Allen got their big push in leg number 2, a 154.37, which looks like that is the fastest 2-lap run in this heat thus far. IMG Academy at the bell, 6:49.
6:49 on the clock at the bell.
The school in Bradenton, Florida attracts many of the top athletes in various sports across the country, and right now they're in control of this race, but trying to hold off looming Edwin Allen from Jamaica. And I see the Jamaican colors in the stands already, so I'm certain we will hear it if Edwin Allen can pull out the win. But IMG holding off the Jamaican quartet as Christian Brothers, a huge anchor. They fell off on the third leg, but here comes Christian Brothers because this is a time-based qualifying process for the finals. So it's going to be IMG, then Christian Brothers to the line. Not as quick as the opening section, but under 7:50. So with those top 3 teams, IMG Academy at 7:47, Christian Brothers, there you see at 7:48, and Edwin Allen also just under 7:50. So right now we have 6 teams, potentially half the field, under 7:50 through 2 heats of the boys 4x8 relay. Christian Brothers had a 154.18 anchor, and that actually now is the second fastest, as Xavier from New York, a 153 double fives. Wow, what a run there. As they are in the number 4 spot. And race number 103 already on the track. Manhasset from New York is 7:45.91 as we're underway.
Next man on the track is at number 103. That's the boys 4x800 relay. Third section, bringing together Kingston College.
Kingston College, a 7:48 run earlier this season in the Jamaican outdoor season. Rockhurst out of Missouri, 7:48.92. And Union Catholic, a 7:52 run so far in 2025, but they are always in the mix.
Boys School, Dunbar, Winslow, Bowie, Brookside, and Iowa International, all the way from Houston, Texas.
From New Jersey. And we see that big pack of teams. They're running 3 wide all the way out into, once again, lane 6, or the 3rd lane around the 400-meter oval. And we'll see in the 4x1 relays in lanes 1, 2, and 3 actually, let's say, start behind the start-finish line, because the inside lane is not that full 400-meter distance. Field starting to string out just a little bit.
Brooklyn Tech has now moved to the front as they move down that back straightaway.
And see that all the way out again into the 3rd lane. Not messing around, know how important it is to stay in contact. Again, the time-based final. 3 teams battling for a funny big kick. That is Rockhurst out of Missouri.
That's Rockhurst High School, all the way from
Not to
Kansas
be
City,
confused
Missouri.
with Slippery Rock, as the Rock heads toward the line. 147 high for Rockhurst from Missouri. Acorn, Bond, Hayes, and Davis. They're the beneficiary of a 157.7 opening leg. St. Albans from DC and Union Catholic, all under 159 in that opening leg, sitting in the fourth position. Brooklyn Tech from New York, the only other team under 2 minutes in the opening 2 laps. So those top 4 teams definitely separated themselves from the rest of this very big field.
On the second carry. We've already had some fast times here.
Union Catholic, there they are, moving up to the number 2 spot, about 6 meters behind our leaders. Second leg, as we had a quick glimpse of the team from Dunbar. They're in the number 6 spot, but there's our leader. St. Albans from the District of Columbia, Union Catholic in second.
St. Albans up front, opening up about a 15-20 meter lead. As we come into the second exchange.
Sitting third, as unfortunately
Union Catholic currently second. Kingston College moving up in third. As they come into this second exchange. Union Catholic slides into second. Now they have their sights set on St. Albans. St. Albans 154.77 for that second carry. Union Catholic 156.5. As they move down that back straightaway, it's St. Albans, Union Catholic, Dunbar, Manhasset, currently fourth. But up front, it's been St. Albans for 2.5 carries.
Number one.
4 teams giving chase. Manhasset on the outside, they're moving up. They just slid into third. Dunbar currently second. St. Albans up front. That's Dunbar making a strong move.
So Dunbar moving in on St. Albans with Union Catholic and Manhasset fourth and third. Dunbar opened at 2 flat, so they were sitting back in the numbers 8 position, but moved up with the 156 carry. Meekins, Folks, Parker, and Carranza as Dunbar, the new leader in race number 103, the third heat of the boys 4x800 meter relay at the Penn Relays.
At the exchange, it will be Dunbar.
So Dunbar, St. Albans, 1-2.
6 teams have gone under 750 already. Top 12 make it back to the championship in America. Dunbar's third carry, 156.4. Let's Dunbar, St. Albans. Not
So
letting
Dunbar
go.
and St.
Right on his
Albans,
outside shoulder.
1-2. Again, the number to hit, I believe right now, is
3
750
teams giving
mark.
chase. Union Catholic, Rockhurst.
As they are battling it out, heading to the line, going to get the bell
Union
at
Catholic.
probably
5 teams with
650
400
low,
meters
but
to
they
go.
will not be alone. Kingston
At the
College
bell.
the purple and white squad.
Keep an eye on Dunbar.
A 7:48 run earlier this year in the Jamaican outdoor season. And we will double check on this later. I think the Jamaican championships already have been held, but Kingston College moving up in the position to move on to tomorrow's high school boys 4x800 meter relay championship. Looks like just missed that 7:49 mark. They did 7:50.06. Looks like currently the number 7, a huge carry for Rockers, 1:52.47. Wow. A full second faster than the Kingston College anchor, which moved them into position as the top 3 teams all go under 7:51.
7:50.87. Dunbar, 7:51.01.
So Simmons, Ruto, Robinson, and Kiprop representing Kingston College in that one. They win race number 103, the 3rd heat of the boys 4x8 relay. And you see that nice crowd starting to file in to Franklin Field. They'll be up in the upper deck in larger numbers than they are today. There's the start finish line, getting final instructions. Again, being very patient through the zones. These alleys are only 3 lanes wide instead of maybe 4 each on an 8-lane track, because we're only using those outside 6 lanes here at Franklin Fields. You see some extended arms, making certain no contact, nobody goes down. We don't want a recall start. Everything looks solid as our 4th and final qualifying heat for the boys 4x8 relay.
Tatnall, Downtown West, Christian Brothers, County, Westport.
So that number really always, we're like 6 wide. Lots of traffic. That did look like I-95 as well.
New Rochelle, Newport, Free, St. Baptist Catholic, Lower Merion, St. Anthony's,
and that great shot down the back straight just showed you the tight quarters that these high school athletes are working under. Trying to earn an opportunity to run here again tomorrow. So that is North Penn in the number 1
New
spot.
Rochelle, currently 2nd in white top.
Gordon, Boyce, Landis, and Hersey scheduled to compete for the squad from Eastern Pennsylvania. Bishop McNamara along the rail in 2nd.
As they move down that next straightaway, they're still about 10
And another difference on this track compared to most high school track, that there is a rail on the inside line, just a painted lane line. So some athletes, but probably not too many who are competing here at the Penn Relays, haven't run on a track with a rail before, as the push for home. That is Lafayette from Kentucky. Richardson, Grace, Weimer, and Christensen opening leg, 155 points. Get the baton passed for our leaders from Kentucky.
155-64.
As you've heard me mention already this morning, it's not just East Coast teams. We had Rockers from Missouri, now Lafayette from Kentucky, battling it out in our opening event, the qualifying races in this year's high school boys 4x8 relay. The football old school track on the X. Just happy to be back at Franklin Field once again. It's a gorgeous start to what's going to be a fantastic weekend of track and field, America's oldest and grandest gathering in our sports side-by-side action. Almost a dead heat across the line. Middle of the the second leg, Jamaica College and Lafayette out of Kentucky. Jamaica College from Jamaica, of course, Creary, Price, Lawson, and Green. Those two teams open at 155.6 and 156.3 as they go full wide. Down the back straight, that's Tatnall from Delaware. Passing quite a few squads to get up into the number 3 spot, with Lafayette coming back to the field. Now fighting for the 4th position, but all chasing Jamaica College in the lead. And whether you're waving, jumping up and down, yelling, whatever, to try to attract the attention of your teammate, we saw a mishandled stick in the middle of that grouping. It's just such a tight squeeze. That was the team from Severna Park of Maryland. Missed the first exchange, but got it done on the second try. As Jamaica College starting to separate in front of Tatnall and Bishop McNamara. 1, 2, 3. There's Bishop McNamara and Tatnall, second and third. They got some company in those positions through the number 6 spot, but that's not what they're focused on. They want to look at the clock if they can and figure out that track math as they chase Jamaica College. Nice bunch there. And the gap between Jamaica College and North Penn not very big at this point. Now a stride, and we'll say we have a new leader. It is North Penn.
North Penn moving to the front.
North Penn, Jamaica College in a little bit of open track.
Tatnall on the inside,
Tatnall in third. And there will be one more baton exchange. I see Northern Valley Regional from New Jersey. They're wearing DK in the blue and white, moving up into number 4 position.
12 teams below, 752.
So right now it appears the cutoff is around the 752 mark. So we had 6 under 750 in the opening 2 heats. 2 others at 750 in that 3rd heat. As we're bringing it to the line with North Penn, 5:52 on the clock.
Regional had a nice carry. They move up in the 3rd. Keep an eye on Jamaica College.
You see Jamaica College, Northern Valley Regional right there in the blue and white. And then Lafayette gathered themselves. They're back in contention, but everybody's chasing North Penn. So it is North Penn in the lead. Jamaica College about 25 behind. So that could be troublesome for those squads battling out position-wise 2 through 6. Whether they will have a quick enough time to make that 12-team field. 6:46
at the bell
with 1 to go for North Penn.
Jamaica College currently 2nd, followed by Tatnall.
North Penn, Jamaica College, 1-2, but you see the camera focused on our leaders from North Penn. Again, Gordon, Boyce, Landis, and Hersey.
Keep an eye on the clock. That's North Penn up front.
They have turned this 4th and final heat of the 4x8 into a runaway.
North Penn, Jamaica College.
Let's go! Let's go!
And it appears that Tatnall is now in the number 2 spot, giving chase to that so important number on the finish line clock. North Penn with a strong performance. They will close at 7:46. Looks like Tatnall's going to get their way into the final. They're under 750. So 7:46, 16 for the winners. As you see all the squads cross the finish line. And the top two under 750, they're going to be in the final. And Jamaica College at 751.20, that's going to be close. But the team of Kyle Gordon, Eric Boyce, Justin Landis, Musa Herzi are to be commended. They're the team from North Penn, 746.16. And North Penn was at 749.48. Headed to Franklin Field. And the final weekend in April. All right, now we need to find those exchange zone markings. So important in the 4x1 relay. This is the high school boys 4x1 heats on opening day. This is the JV 9th grade boys. And I mentioned it earlier about the lanes 1, 2, and 3 actually being inside the rail, and it looks like they're starting behind that 400-meter start-finish mark. And indeed they are. Short straightaways, wide turns. On the oval at Franklin Field, and we are underway. Again, the 9th grade boys or JV PIAA 4x1 relay. And on the outside, it looks like in lane 7, doing a great job. That is Upper Darby. And a good pass, and they have right to their inside Central Bucks West. And those two teams have separated themselves from the rest of the field. Upper Darby passes the stick second. But it is going to be Upper Darby, they were in the lead. Central Bucks West will finish about 8 meters behind. Upper Darby. Solid performance, 44.04. Those young men from Upper Darby very happy. Bolton, DeBow, Tosa, and Wolo from Upper Darby with the win, 44.04. And congratulating the other competitors in their heat. And again, track and field is such a family type of sport, whether it's your arch rival school district down the highway or teams from across the country. We're all in this together, one-on-one, you against the clock, you against the tape measure, whatever that is. All right, heat number 106, the PIAA girls 9th grade and JV 4x1 relay.
Now the track,
And we are underway.
PIAA girls 9th grade 4x1 relay.
The teams out there, Strathaven, Hatboro, Horsham, Springfield, Delco, Central Bucks West, Central Bucks East, Upper Darby, Upper Marion, North Penn, and Spring Ford on the outside in 8. That is North Penn. We're in the light blue and white. Good pass, Upper Darby, 2 lanes to their left. Is actually in the lead. Torrey, Lauderdale, Jones, and Walker. Looks like Upper Darby is going to get a pair of 4x100-meter victories unless North Penn or Upper Marion can close fast. Don't think they will get there in time. Not enough track distance. It is Upper Darby, then Upper Marion, and North Penn. Upper Darby 50.90. They win by almost 3/10.
Never miss an event from your favorite athlete event. With FloTrack, you'll have access to all live events this season. Visit FloTrack.tv to catch all the action and up-to-date footage of the event. That's FloTrack.tv.
And the ladies from Upper Darby obviously excited with that win in the PIAA JV 9th grade girls 4x1.
Water refills and recovery tools. Get moving with On. They're partnering with local DJs every day.
Next up on the oval, the PIAA middle school boys 4x1 relay. I mentioned a handful of minutes ago in this opening hour about the athletes ranging from middle school athletes all the way up to masters competitors. We'll see some 70 and 80-year-old sprinters, I am certain, along with the best high school and collegiate athletes and pros in these next 3 days at the Penn Relays. Again, the strange layout of the oval here, as athletes is like, hey, usually I start and finish at the same place in the 4x1 relay. Not here at Penn. If you're on the inside of lanes 1, 2, and 3, there they are. Looking back through the exchange zone. And just a brief pause, actually one of the longer pauses that you might see early on at the Penn Relays, as so many racers and so many races to run. These middle school athletes in the boys 4x1 relay. Norristown, Wissahickon, Arcola, Penwood, Drexel Hill, Cedarbrook, Springford, Perkins Valley, and Downingtown. Teams on the oval, all the athletes getting in place. And we're underway. The middle school boys, yeah, double-A 4x1 relay. Sean Phillips and Will Grundy will be joining me here in the next handful of minutes. Take us through these opening hours of this year's 129th running. The Penn Relays looking very strong. FloTrack. Out in lane 6, that is Cedarbrook Middle School with a sizable lead. White flags through the exchange zone, and look at that advantage from overhead at Franklin Field at the finish line. What a great shot. And just so I don't forget, my thanks to all the announcers. Take their hats off for the production crew. Don, Cruz, Seamus, and the gang. Whether you're on camera or on technical support, it is a total team effort this weekend, as it was for Cedarbrook. 45-83 for a middle school boys 4x1 relay. The girls coming up next. And the gun sounds once again. We're underway. Middle school girls 4x1 relay. Norristown, Springton Lake, Beverly Hills, North Brandywine, Strathaven, Downingtown, Springford, Keith Valley, and Cedarbrook. We saw their boys squad win. And that is Cedarbrook on the outside, reaching back. They'll get that stick. They're out against the wall in lane 9. Running right in front of the Hall of Fame. And they're going to bring a slight advantage down to start finish. And they hold off. The squad to their left, that was Downingtown Middle. Just 1,300 separating those top two teams. There's Downingtown Middle squad. A 51-58 to a 51-71. But to run and then to win at the Penn Relays, wow. What an amazing feeling. And athletes, whether you're middle schoolers, high schoolers, collegiate athletes, pros, or those masters runners. It is a great sensation. And we're getting younger and younger. The Camden Diocese boys 4x1 relay. And we saw all 9 teams at the start. Our Lady of Hope, St. Charles, Borromeo, St. Margaret, St. John Paul II, St. Rose, Christ the King, Catholic Partnership School, St. Peter, and Guardian Angels. Get to try things out at Franklin Field. And on the inside, that is St. Margaret in lane 3. Chasing those squads outside the rail. They were late in the zone, but that's going to work out for them. St. Margaret running for home out of lane 3. It is St. Margaret with the win. And with the many different lane markings on here, some of these athletes you'll see running well past the finish line, but hey, it's better to keep going 100% past the finish line than stopping short and getting past. So putting the batons back in the bucket, getting ready for the next group as a 52-46 for St. Margaret. Full field. Once again underway, the Camden Diocese girls 4x1 right across the river in New Jersey. On the outside in 8 and 9, Our Lady of Hope and St. Rose. This is pretty tight. Down the back straight, that is Our Lady of Hope out in 8. Christ the King in 6. Looks like they may have a stride or two advantage. A group of 4. Really nice competition in the Camden Diocese girls 4x1 relay. In lane 6, Christ the King. Wearing letters JF. On their kit, there will be victorious 55.12. Win by almost 3/4 of a second. That's the smiles of a winner. Christ the King. Now the St. Jersey, or South Jersey, excuse me. South Jersey middle school boys 4x1. And another clean start, as we have had all morning long. You're looking to plan out your weekend track and field schedule. 9 o'clock start also tomorrow, and then Saturday morning starting off early with the race walk here at Franklin Field, 7 a.m. In lane 6, that is Pfeiffer Middle School. Challenging Ann Mullen and Winslow to their right. That is Ann Mullen in lane 7, up by about 3 strides. Gonna hold off the hard-charging Pfeiffer Middle School, 46-57 for the winner. 1/10 behind was Pfeiffer. That is Ann Mullen with the win. And another clean start, the South Jersey Middle School girls 4x1 relay. And our broadcast vantage point under the second level, so we are going to be in the shade throughout the weekend. So I'm certain it is warming up out on the oval. It's going to be just a fantastic weather day today and tomorrow. Saturday, hopefully we'll get everything in before anything starts falling from the skies here in eastern Pennsylvania. The action on the outside once again in lane 8, Winslow. Middle School close to the wall. They will be victorious 51-56 in the South Jersey Middle School girls 4x1 relay. Winning by about half of a second. The next race quickly being put into place. Everybody finding their spots. Looks like we do have one open lane. This time around, St. Mary of the Assumption, St. John the Beloved, Immaculate Heart of Mary, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth, Christ the Teacher, St. Edmunds, and St. Mary Magdalene. The Wilmington Diocese 4x1 relay. This is their championship race, and looking very strong in lane 5. That is St. Elizabeth. They have made up the stagger on everybody to their right. They are cranking it out down the back straight in lane 5. Nice, quick, low pass. St. Elizabeth. But starting to move on the outside. In lane 8, St. Edmunds Academy, excuse me. St. Edmunds. They're going to be victorious. Wow, that third leg so important and so big for St. Edmunds. 48-94 was St. Elizabeth in the number 2 spot. The Wilmington Diocese girls 4x1 relay. Finding their marks. And we are rolling with the first and only heat of the Wilmington Diocese girls 4x1 relay. Event number 114. We got started with the 4x8 qualifying races for the high school boys, then moved into 4x1s. As St. Anthony of Padua in 6 with the lead. It went late into the zone, but I see white flags. That's good news. Some adjustment of the baton as they're still running in and out of some of the shadows in those outside lanes. St. Anthony of Padua with St. Mary Magdalene, the closest to them. Once again, what a shot overhead at Franklin Field at the finish line. You love it. Gotta love it. 55-67 for our winners, St. Anthony of Padua. The Philadelphia Archdiocese junior boys 4x1. And it's so great to see so many athletes getting an early start at such a premier event, just to hang around for the rest of the day, today, to Friday and Saturday, to see some of the best athletes in America and the world compete on the same track where just 24 or 48 hours earlier I was out there. And the youngsters in this one, Our Lady of Mount Carmel in 6 was in the lead. And they are headed to the line and still in front. Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Zadroga, Foy, Greeley, and Taggart. They are victorious, going to be under 56 seconds, 55.96. A nice run. Our Lady of Calvary at half a second behind at 56.46. And we are rolling once again. Some great looks at the baton exchanges. The Archdiocese girls 4x1 relay. Down the back straight. Second runners handing off to third runners. This is again the junior girls 4x1 of the Philadelphia Archdiocese. On the outside in 8, Our Lady of Mount Carmel again, but they're going to have to hold off hard charging Corpus Christi in 6. Going to make it close. Can they get there? Nope, just going to be a little bit short at the end of 400 meters. 55.75. Our Lady of Mount Carmel with the victory. Some celebrations occurring outside the running surface at Franklin Field. As we get prepped for the senior boys 4x1 relay, Philadelphia Archdiocese. And we are underway once again. Full field of 9. And headed into that again. Second exchange out in lane 7, Mater D. And in 8, Our Lady of Calvary. My man just joining me in our broadcast perch, Will Grundy from the great state of Texas. Will, how you doing this morning? So Will be joining us momentarily as St. Dominic 47.81, Our Lady of St. Calvary, the number 2 spot, that senior boys Archdiocese of Philadelphia 4x1 relay. Senior girls 4x1 for the Philadelphia Archdiocese. The gun sounds, and we are just a couple minutes ahead of schedule, so they run a very tight ship here at the Penn Relays, just simply because they have to. So many races, and hopefully Mother Nature doesn't step in the way. And teams losing their way as far as staying in their lanes, that definitely almost caused some issues and cost some teams some time, as our Mother of Consolation out in 7 briefly had the lead. And we'll see who comes out of that mix. I believe it's St. Dominic out in 8, and in 6, St. Mary Magdalene. And that's who they are. Our leaders, St. Mary Magdalene, and in 4, St. Alphonsus is going to close, but they're going to finish in the number 3 or 4 spot, all chasing St. Mary Magdalene, 52.84. Our winners in the Philadelphia Archdiocese Senior Girls 4x1. Still lots more 4x1s coming up. The high school boys heats are right around the corner, and we have some incredibly quick Jamaican teams and also some historically fast American teams at this year's 129th running of the Penn Relays. And we're underway.
Edward Husband in 5, and outside of that is Houston Elementary, Blue Top.
So great 4x1 relay action, whether you're talking the youngest of athletes here at Franklin Field this weekend or the most seasoned collegiate and pro runners. And headed toward victory in the 7th and 8th grade boys 4x1. Through the line, 49.51. Houston Elementary. That's in the small school boys 4x1 relay. They edge Conwell Middle School by 55 hundredths of a second. And it's the girls' 7th, 8th grade small schools 4x1 relay again. Again, another clean start. Glad to see that these squads are listening to the starters' commands, keeping this meet rolling along. It's good for everybody. In the middle of the track in lane 6. Will, good morning. Can you hear me, my friend?
I can hear you loud and clear.
And I can hear you too. That's great. Good to see you from, how was your trip up from Texas? Uneventful, I hope?
It was uneventful. That's the best way to be. Until we get here, and you said, can I hear you loud and clear? There are clear skies here today in Philadelphia, which I am proud and happy to see.
And it's probably like 40 degrees cooler than in Texas, right?
It is, and I'm not mad about that at all.
Isn't it like early fall in Texas? And no kidding aside, I know it's varying degrees of summer in most places in the state of Texas.
For the most part, we get just 2 seasons. Sort of winter, kind of fall, and then summer.
Oh, okay. I thought you
year.
meant track and cross country to the 2 seasons.
Oh.
That's what they are. Okay. But in the Will Grundy connected to Texas Mile Split. Are you still the editor on the website Texas Mile Split?
That is correct. I am the lead editor for Texas, and I'm over a couple of editors over several surrounding states.
Gotcha. All right. So taking care of the middle of the country where track and field, again, is later on in the season. The Texas State Finals probably not too far away.
No, actually 10 days away. It is next weekend. Not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend in beautiful Austin, Texas.
There we go. At the University of Texas, underway with the 7th and 8th grade large school boys 4x1 relay. All 9 lanes are full. And Will, I was talking not long ago just about the experience, the youngest runners. Again, hey, 24 hours ago, I was on this same track that the greatest Jamaican high school sprinters ever in that same lane with me. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting to watch or see people they watch on television, and they're running on the same track the day before and possibly the day after.
And running through the final exchange zone in this large school boys 4x1 relay. Trying to think back to how competent I was with the baton at this age. Through the line in lane 6, Albert M. Greenfield, 49.83 with the win by over a second. So a convincing victory in that race. So I know, Will, I'm certain you caught some of the 4x8 high school boys relays earlier. 6 teams in those first 2 heats under 750. And again, for most of the country, this is still the middle of the season. Pennsylvania, we have almost a full month, 4 weeks until the state final at Shippensburg. Some states, like if we get some from my old home state of Ohio, they go to the first full weekend in June, so they're like June 7 and 8. So they still got a lot of high school track to run.
Yeah, well, you're talking about those previous 4x8s. I was talking to Jim Lambert, one of our mile split editors in, I believe, New Jersey and New York, and he was mentioning the Union Catholic boys have 2 members on their 4x8 relay who is also on their 4x4 relay and on the 4x1 relay coming up in just a matter of moments. So the versatility of those young men is through the roof. And to see them be able to run or expecting to upcoming run 2 more events today, that just shows the credit to their coaches and their abilities.
All right, headed for home, the large school girls 4x1 relay, 7th, 8th graders in Philadelphia. A tight one at the line. And a 57.70 for Dunbar, wins by just 0.06 of a second. And look what's left behind. That spike on the oval at Franklin Field. All right, so joining Will and myself, Sean Phillips. Sean, you have been here many times, coming up from the island country of Jamaica. Jamaica, the connection to the Penn Relays, just celebrated its 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. The Prime Minister was here. Can you really put in the words what the Penn Relays means to the young athletes and the high schools and teams from Jamaica?
Well, for the Jamaicans, it's actually a history for the Jamaicans to be here. based on our championships that we have received at this Penn Relay. So it's a cultural thing where Penn Relays is one of our biggest meet on the calendar in Jamaica. So when you talk about Penn Relays, it's a historical for Jamaicans. Girls and boys championship. The next big meet to talk about is the Penn Relays. So our achievements that we received actually over the years, winning so many championships, it speaks for itself. So the influence of what the athletes achieve here at the Penn Relays, it spreads in the island of Jamaica. So it's a historical thing where the influence is high on the island.
Now the Jamaican Championships, they occurred a couple weeks ago?
Yes.
Okay.
That was a boys and girls championship there where we've seen Kingston College winning there on the boys side, and we've seen Heidel also on the girls side.
So when you talk about sort of timing of training and everything, do the Jamaican squads, the top squads, those are coming here to the Penn Relays, do they time their training more toward the Jamaican Championships or coming here to Philadelphia and running well against the American teams?
Good question. Now remember, Penn Relays is on their calendar. So the girls and boys championship is, and the last two meets, most competitive meets for them is boys and girls championship and the Penn Relays here in Philadelphia. So that's on their schedule for sure.
All right, the Philadelphia area private and charter school boys 4x1 relays, and Sean, stick work is so critical to all the events. Even in the 4x8s we saw earlier that some of the teams just going through that big traffic jam at start finish, but passing baton is such an art.
Well, it's all, the baton exchange is all about the race. Without the baton, there's no relay. So that's important right there with the exchange.
So, Will, they're bringing it home, and on the inside for the first time today, it looks like we're going to have a winner on Inside the Rail Episcopal Academy. And the optics can really kind of throw you off here at Penn as Episcopal Academy gets the win.
Yeah, and you said the optics. The inside lane had the lead, but I think one of the guys in lane 6 on the outside from
You're right.
Rutherford actually came away with the win. So you were just talking to Sean about the relay, the baton exchanges. Each leg is important. They're unique. The anchor leg has to be able to finish, and the young man from Haverford was able to do that to bring his team to the heat win.
And also where you put your talent, both Will and Sean, whether it's generally the long third leg, which, it used to be your anchor, your top guy was that fourth runner. But now, you put somebody on the back straightaway where they can really run a long leg. They're going to go a full 100-plus meters. And that is how a coach game plans a meet.
That's where the action starts, if you ask me, in a 4x100, the second leg. The second exchange is where you can actually see the race itself. That's who you see making up tremendous amount of ground on the second exchange right there. You can tell. It's hard to tell in the first exchange, but on the second leg, it's on.
Yeah, I agree with Sean. The second leg has to be as strong or as fast as your anchor leg. As you mentioned, it's one of the longest legs on the track. And with that, if you have a strong and fast person, you can actually extend them and shorten the third leg if you would like to do that. At this level, I doubt too many coaches are doing that because you want to focus on the grassroots and getting the baton around the track.
And with the short straightaways and wide turns here at Franklin Field, somewhat not typical when you talk about the high school game where you're around the football field and you got the 100-meter straightaway, 100-meter turn and all of that, and how things play out, and especially finishing in the middle of the track.
It is unique. That's the best way that you can describe Franklin Field, is just how unique it is.
And it's been unique since it was founded and built in 1895 for this very event. On the outside, Abington Friends, but it is Friends Central with storming to victory out of lane 6, 52-37. They finished 4/10 plus up on Abington Friends. So Sean, to get us ready for those high school boys 4x1 heats, tell us about some of the big highlights from this year's Jamaican Championships. I know you told us about the team champions, but was there any individual or team maybe that surprised you this year out of the Jamaican Championships?
It's not so much of a surprise. If you look at the odds which they had predicted who should win and who should be second and third, they were correct. I seen where Kingston College, Calabar actually won the 4x100 Class 1 boys and they were disqualified. And you know, that should be a showdown here to see them after getting disqualified at the championship, coming back here, Penn Relays to defeat that, to, you know, try to capitalize on what happened in the championship.
And actually, that's what I was just going to tell you, as we do get our first heat of the high school boys 4x1 relay on the oval. And down the back straightaway, we see in lane 4, that is looking for AW, headed for home. That is Cocalico from Pennsylvania. Now on the inside in lane 2, that is Bergen County Tech from New Jersey. Bergen County Tech with the win. And their official time, 43.80. And Sean, you did mention that Calabar was DQ'd at the Jamaican Championships. How much do you think that's been running through their head for the last 2 weeks coming here to Philadelphia?
It's a revenge because it was clear when you saw what happened at the championship that they came out the zone. So I think they overlooked that, and their confidence is pretty high.
All right, coming in at 39.60. Some of the storylines going into the hot heats of the boys 4x1 relay, and we have numerous heats in this event, is the fact that the fastest time run by a U.S. team at Penn is a 40.56 by T.C. Williams, now Alexandria City, back in 93 and 2013, and that was with the sprint great now Noah Lyles, Archbishop Carroll from D.C., and always strong Bullis from Maryland are capable of going faster than that. They've run 40.23 and 40.5 earlier this year. As again, we look at exchange zone number 1. Gentlemen, what do you see out there as we head down the back straight, this important leg?
I think the main thing that everybody's second leg got the baton safely and pretty quickly. And like Sean said, you get to watch the race unfold in that second leg. And there was a couple mishaps there on that second exchange.
Blair Academy tried to get it in deep, but I think they went out of the zone. They were in 6. Charles E. Mills in 5, but they're coming for home out in 7. That is Atlantic City, New Jersey. There is Blair Academy, but I am not certain. Yes, I do see yellow on the back straightaway. They went very deep in the zone and struggled. I don't think they got it in, Sean.
They may have gotten a disqualified right there, but just leave it to the officials. It was very horrible in the back stretch there, seeing the running lane number 6. I doubt if they stayed in the zone.
And that's the danger of running down in the zone. There's always that chance that the miscalculation or a runner's going to leave too early or too late. It's going to happen. So you got to have to, I mean, chemistry is very important in teamwork when you're trying to pull this off.
And again, remember most of our schools in the States here, the indoor just finished. So they don't have enough time to do the exchanges. So that's a big factor here. Sometimes it's the second meet, they're running a 4x100, you know, so we're going to see a lot from the U.S. team especially. The Jamaicans are outdoor, and they're master at the exchange. Their chemistry is good. These youngsters, some of them, is the first time they even meeting here at the Penn Relays to do a stick pass.
And I think that's a big factor here at the Penn Relays. Like you said, Jamaica has had a full season. They know each other. They've run in warm weather. They've run probably, 10 or plus more 4x100 relays, and at a high level, just 2 races coming into this. And like you said, the East Coast teams in the United States are, a week or 2 outdoors, so they don't have that chemistry on the 4x1s that they do. And I think that's the big advantage, aside from the speed that a lot of Jamaican teams have, is that chemistry.
You see the difference with that.
You see that on the national stage, too.
Yes.
International.
So we have St. Peter's on the outside in lane 8 from New York, starting to get a little bit of an edge. They made up the stagger on More Catholic, also from New York State. Next to them with the big cap and looks like a Michigan uniform, Massapequa. All of these squads from New York State on the outside in 7, 8, and 9. This is heat number 3 of the boys 4x1 relay on the inside now. Looking inside that rail, that is Penn Treaty from the state of Pennsylvania. It is Massapequa and Penn Treaty. Going to be Penn Treaty at the line. And again, just the optics, we see those athletes. He's still going all the way into the first turn. Now, he went a little further than that second line that a lot of people mistake for the finish line. But there was no doubt he was 100% in.
It's a short straightaway. It's about 60 meters somewhere right there. So, they just want to run 100 meters at the top of the stretch, and they only have 60 meters. So you're going to see them running, all the way to the end.
Now, I know obviously the exchange zone are 20 meters, whether you're on this track with the start finish in the middle of the track or in a typical high school football field track at the end of the straightaway. How much do you really have to sort of recalibrate where you are? Because a lot of times you may pick out landmarks in the stadium. Okay, that's the end of the straightaway. That's where I really have to get prepped. Or you're just looking for your teammate coming in and giving you the cue and you go.
Well, the uniqueness of the stadium, I'm still trying to pick out where the exchange zone is, just looking at it. So they do have to identify that when you're out there. The coaches have to do a good job at making sure they show the kids that. And then we just saw that young man run extra 30 meters. I mean, that's good coaching and good listening to your coach to do that.
Again, another clean start in event 125, heat number 4, the boys 4x1 relay on the outside, looking very strong. Triton Regional from New Jersey, and then back in lane 5, Neptune, also from the Garden State. So we see some empty track there between 5 and 9. So very aquatic-oriented names, Neptune and Triton Regional. And headed to the line on the outside in lane 9, it will be Triton Regional. Neptune cruises through in the number 2 spot.
I'm looking at most of the handoffs, and the athletes' hands are very low. For me as a coach, I was taught to running the 4x100 is keeping my hands pretty high in the air because the athletes elevate in the sky. But when your hands are low, you're creating a problem right there. And most of them I've seen right now is their hands are pretty low. And that's not the way I think an exchange of 4x100 should be low.
High and wide, right?
Yeah, I completely agree, because when you're low, your hand's going in a downward motion, and that person's hand is coming up low and then going down, and it's very close to ankles and feet of the two of you and then lanes next to you. And, I mean, when we see the faster athletes, of course, when you run that fast, you have to execute very well that we're going to see coming up. I definitely think we'll definitely see better execution or from better or longer teaching. But I'm completely in agreement with the both of you on the high hands. The flat hands is just dangerous. You want to get that palm, give a really, really good target to your incoming runner.
All right, in lane 6 right now, leading the way, Abraham Clark from New Jersey. And on the outside, in 7, Bristol from the state of Pennsylvania. And they will battle it out. And it looks like we're finally out of the shadows in the Hall of Fame curve. As lane number 7, Bristol, Pennsylvania, Simmons, Buapline, Sean, and White. A nice lean there at the end. I love that overhead shot of start finish. 44.78 for Bristol.
We continue to see the very low handoffs, and we're going to see a lot of that all day, all weekend actually, especially from the novices. And this is what we're going to encounter with the preparation for the professional team. This is why the U.S. have problems over the years, because it starts again from the basic. The basic weren't taught, and because of that, it leads to the professionals.
And shots fired, but you are correct. The United States, I mean, you're pinpointing this here, and we're not even in the championship races where I hope it is corrected, but that goes from the novice level or grassroots to the next level and then to the next level. And then collegiately, if your college coach doesn't have the opportunity to fix that, because that has to be drilled. And if you're already demonstrating or exhibiting habits that need to be corrected, if you don't get that done in 2, 3, 4 years, by the time it comes to be on a national or international team, they don't really have the opportunity to correct that. And those speeds that you see, big, grown, muscular, athletic men coming in, that's hard to fix and correct if it's not drilled into your brain. And if we're going to see that in the chemistry and those kind of mechanics being taught on the Jamaican side, then that's kind of where they're already at an advantage to Americans at this level.
Northern Highlands jumping in from New Jersey out in lane number 7 with the victory. And also to go back to the discussion, again, we almost made it to 10:30 before we threw the 4x1 relay teams for the U.S. under the bus. I'll just add that. But also you have athletes who don't know each other, who may come from various collegiate programs where maybe a different school of thought was brought up, not saying good, bad, or ugly, but yeah, they come in, they have 2 weeks in a relay pool where you're going to have 6 or 7 runners. So Yeah, it's not the greatest system, and obviously it has been shown, sadly, time and time again, where we may have the greatest speed, but at the end, we don't make it to the finish line.
I think, coincidentally, the years that we had better baton passes, we didn't have the best speed, clearly, and we were closer to probably the best speed we'll ever see from 4 men. We were closer in those stages.
All right, Germantown Academy, out in lane 8 as we're looking at heat number 7. So we are moving closer to those top Jamaican teams. And now out in 8, yeah, that is Germantown Academy. And on the outside, Hamilton East from New Jersey. You see them in the green and white. Running along the Hall of Fame wall here at Franklin Field, Germantown Academy well clear of the field. And heat number 7 of the high school boys 4x1 relay. Just to go through quickly the qualification process as we look at their 43.83 time. The 9 fastest teams from events 125 through 130 qualify for the championship final. That is tomorrow at 1:50 p.m. The next 9 international teams run 5 minutes earlier. The 9 national teams also in that 1 o'clock hour tomorrow. You see the numbers in heat number 7, Sean. It looks like you have another point.
I think this weekend we're going to see some fast times in the 4x100 meters. I mean, look at the temperature we're having here. 68 degrees.
Yeah, it's going to be perfect weather.
55%.
Yeah. And again, you talked about the numbers already this year. 39.60 for Calibart, Kingston College 39.78, Excelsior 39.83, and Jamaica College also under 40 seconds. And I know, Will, you see all kinds of just blazing 4x1 teams in the state of Texas. The top American teams, many of those are always coming out of the state of Texas.
Correct. I mean, we have, I think, 33 teams in Texas who have run under 41 seconds. But 4 teams coming into this weekend already under 40 seconds. That's crazy.
All right, here's a look at the last baton exchange out in lane 8. That's Lincoln from New York. Abu Bakar, Espinal, Bryan, and Rojas. And it is Lincoln with the win, 44-62. 33, you said?
33 teams.
It just shows the level of the Jamaicans where it can go either way. I mean, 4 teams with 39, and they're just within a half a second
How
apart.
often does that happen? 4 teams come in at this stage of the year under 40 seconds.
It just shows the chemistry and how educated they are in their preparation for this. We in America can do the same, but it's hard.
Now, I know we've talked about the Jamaican championships here and then in years previous. What's the qualification process to get to the Jamaican championships? I mean, does sort of everybody get a player, or as we get our first false start of the weekend, so how do you qualify for the Jamaican championships?
Well, they go through a series of you're talking about the Central champs, Eastern champs, Western champs. It's not so much of a qualification. It's how competitive the athletes are from a particular school. So it's not so much of a big deal of a qualification. It's just how competitive athletes are from the schools that they're coming from.
All right, very good. Hopefully we didn't lose any teams. I'm looking out on the oval. I think I still see 9 there. Yes, we do. All 9 lanes are filled. So that was just a recall start. And I know, Sean and Will, in big meets like this, that you have so many races going without blocks in the prelims. That is a different feel, gentlemen, isn't it?
It's good, especially having the novices out there right now. We'll be having a lot of false starts. So it's good that they're able to allow them to compete without the blocks.
And it's definitely part of the timing to keep the meet rolling along, because that's part of track field's problem is getting in the blocks, getting set, and taking that long to do things. But these kids are showing that it doesn't take that long. Just get down, get in, and get started. And only 1 false start today, and it's 10:30 already. I think that's good, a good representation from these young men and ladies.
Running to the line, Justice from Virginia and Lawrence from New Jersey. A very close 1-2. Justice with the win at 45-50. Lawrence at 45-63. The top two teams, that was heat number 8. So far, the number 1 time, that's Triton Regionals, 43-56, as the top 4 all under 44 seconds, as we were talking just seconds ago about those top teams from Jamaica under 40 seconds, and then the group down in Texas under 41 seconds. Some amazingly quick relay teams as we see the next group starting list for heat number 9, event 125.
And Phil, if I may, we've already talked about, I mean, it's hard when you have the eyes that Sean and I have not to see the little things that we see. But I want to give a credit to the second, third, and even the fourth legs who, I mean, we talked about the first leg with no blocks, but to be out there on a completely different part of the track than you're used to and to be able to put your marks down. I don't think we've seen disqualifications because of people in the wrong places or anything like that. Kudos to these kids to be able to get out there because the track looks weird. Where second and third leg that aren't where I'm used to seeing them. I'm sure it's not where they're used to being. To get out there and put that down, kudos to them.
And then the double-decker stadium with thousands of fans looking down on you. That is a different feel and optics, too.
The officials actually give them credit as well. Because the officials are out there pointing and showing. So they have enough officials at the Penn Relays here, which is assisting the youngsters. That's a plus.
Things are looking tight down the back straight as in lane 4, that is Bishop Eldon. This is heat number 10 of event 125 as we are working our way through dozens of qualifying races. Bishop Eldon clear of the field in heat number 10, headed to the line. We'll see if they can post that top time of the day. So far, it looks like they will. 43:30. The team from the Bahamas.
It's getting warm. It's getting warm.
Getting warm.
It's getting warm. We're going to see a much more faster time than what we just seen just now.
So Bishop Eldon, Colby, Dean Thompson, and Stubbs, that group that puts together a 43:30, number 1 thus far, with a long way to go by 26 hundredths of a second.
If I may, I just want to piggyback on what Sean just said. The officials, it's a circus here, man. They say this is a carnival of track and field. It literally is a carnival, but you see people with their sticks running out and then 9 people following them single file. Outside the stadium, it is crazy going on. I mean, you got people doing leg swings on poles, on street poles and fences, people trying to walk by. It is madness out there. But for them to get out there and in here and on the track, what they see on TV, it's amazing it happens.
All of this in the city of brotherly love and the bullpen area. I know myself as a former athlete, I would have had difficulty just being surrounded by everybody else. I needed to be out there moving around to stay warm.
I do have flashbacks just seeing the bullpen. Competing here for many years and in the bullpen, and every time I pass it, it brings back, it just takes me back.
And that's the beauty of what these kids are getting to experience when Phil was talking about professionals being on that stage or the same track moments before, moments after. I mean, that's the beauty of what the Penn Relays is.
All right, heat number 11. On the outside, there are those top 5 teams. Lake Forest from Delaware in 8. They're chasing CMIT Academy from Maryland. Wow, they are well out in front, looking like about a 15-meter lead going into the final baton pass. Came up quick on their anchor runner. It's going to slow them up a little bit, affect their final time. Will it give an opportunity for those teams giving chase? It will, to the line. What an anchor run. On the inside, that is Hasbrook Heights.
High stepping indeed, high stepping. This is when you talk about mechanics now on top of the stretch. It's all about mechanics here now.
Yeah, and we didn't see that on that third leg. The mechanics weren't great. And then Phil talked about he didn't take advantage of the acceleration zone because he didn't get out. And the young man that came back to got him, not only was he high stepping, picking him up and putting him down, but he ran the exchange zone, and that momentum carried him in the first place.
I mean, he made a tremendous amount of ground.
And obviously critical in the 4x1, but even in the 4x8, your momentum taking it all the way through that 20-meter zone, you can go in with a 5-meter advantage and come out with 15 or 20 if you do it right.
Right.
All right, heat number 12. The 9 teams on the oval are underway. Olney, Thomas Saunders, Ben Salem, Newark, Sidney Pagon Stem from Jamaica, Paulsboro, Delaware Military, Samuel Tilden, Seneca. And they are headed to the back straightaway.
Just look at the Jamaicans as...
Uh-oh, we got teams in the wrong lane. How in the world? Wow. That was an I-95 accident waiting to happen. We saw the outgoing runners making motions, and one of those teams right now, our leading squad.
Talk about the Jamaicans again. Here they are.
In lane 3, that is Ben Salem from PA. Looks like we have a new number 1 at first time under 43 seconds. Ben Salem, 42.85. That is a big chunk taken off the top of the standings. Again, very early in the qualification process, but we had some very difficult movements and motions. Teams seemingly in the wrong lane. Sidney Pagon Stem from Jamaica, they're second at 44.29. One of those teams that were trying to figure out which lane they were in.
You're seeing the stands right now starting to get, crowded here. The Jamaicans are out. They're coming out. I've seen the colors. And normally over the years, you wouldn't find a Thursday. Look at the crowd.
There's a process to this with Jamaica. You start seeing the colors, then you start smelling the food, then you start hearing the noise. That's when you know they're here, when all 3 of them are going at the same time.
The culture's in the air.
Now, the Jamaican athletes and Jamaican fans, Sean, when do they normally arrive here, considering the meet starts on a Thursday?
Most of the time they're here from about the Monday.
Okay.
Just to get climatized. So they're in from Monday or Tuesday, the latest probably. But they normally the Monday, Tuesday, they'll flow into Pennsylvania.
The best movement through the zone, the leaders right now in lane number 5, that is Upper Dublin in the red and white. They had some great stick work, second to third leg, pretty good from third to fourth. They are in the lead right now, Upper Dublin. Maywa in second, but on the inside in lane 2, the big close by Alphonsus Davis, 44.31. Alphonsus Davis with the victory in heat number 13.
That was a little reminiscent of an indoor 4x2, because in lane 1 you're starting on that turn, and he came off just spectacularly, and what a little stretch he had. He was done up to the finish line real quick and anchored his team home to the win.
And that's another thing, indoor 4x2s on a banked oval. Wow.
And this
can be crazy.
It is. Just look at the 4x200s indoors, and these same guys coming back to run the 4x1, it's different.
Well, hopefully those are the same guys running the 4x4, because the indoor 4x2 reminds me a lot of the 4x4 exchange zones here in the Penn Relays. But I want to ask you, Sean, you live in New York, so I'm not going to ask you personally, but when Jamaican kids come to the United States and they spend the week here, like you say, do they fall in love with the city of Pennsylvania, Penn Relays, and do they become fans of the Sixers and the Eagles and stuff like that?
Well, actually, before they even arrive here, they're already a fan. Remember, social media is wide open to the world, so they're on their phones. So they're big fans of the athletes here before they even actually arrive. Now, the Jamaicans, we're foreign-minded. We're foreign-minded. So the moment we arrive, it's a different air, it's a different energy. We have to prove something to our island. So for us, this is at the highest level for us, just being overseas, representing our island. So they're Jamaicans here, they're at their highest right now with everything. Their adrenaline, their expectations, you name it.
All right, gentlemen, I'm seeing some high and wide passes. Franklin Township on the outside in lane 9 is going to hold on for the victory. Also, Iona Prep, got to shout out to them. Unfortunately, their number 3 runner, it looked like had some hamstring issues. They were not able to finish, but the winner in that one, 44.32. Not the best time that we've had, but Franklin Township, again, going high and wide with the baton exchange, which we've talked about already. We're going to see more of as we move through these heats.
And again, some of the teams is their first time here doing a 4x1 exchange. So we're going to see some inexperienced handoffs, and you won't see that in the championship for sure, because they're more seasoned.
All right, so it's headed a little bit to lunchtime Thursday in Philadelphia. I haven't had my first cheesesteak yet. I know you were talking about how the Jamaican fans and athletes get acclimated. I definitely will have one, I think, sometime today and maybe a couple more before I leave. Can you put it in your carry-on bag going back to Texas, Will?
If you could, I don't think it would last long because TSA would smell it and they would definitely take it whether they have legal rights to do that or not.
All right. All right, heat number 3. And we're underway.
A very eventful start there, though.
All 9 lanes are filled out in 7 Abington Friends. Strong movement early on. They made up the stagger on the 2 teams on the outside. The baton exchange from one hand to the other. I know something that's really slowing you down in a distraction. I'm certain, Sean.
Not necessarily, especially when the chemistry is there. There's no slowing down. It's the norm for them.
Oh, and they go down. Our leaders, as they tried to pass the baton, the drum already unfolding, as in the lead, Abington Friends. Oh, so unfortunate.
Again,
taking over number 5, that's Phelps ACE.
Again, what we saw just now between the third and anchor leg right there, the incoming runner with the baton, 99.9% of the time will be the cause of the problem. A communication, because the receiver back is turned, so they're handicapped. Okay, their back is turned. The incoming runner can see all the problems to communicate with the receiving athlete. So right there, I'm going to put the blame right there on the incoming athlete.
And another look at that we just saw of the drama on the far turn between the number 3 and number 4 runners in that last heat. Again, the incoming runner head in his hands as he realized that was it. That was the heat win and maybe a season best time. Again, as the Pennsylvania schools are 4 weeks out from the state championships. Heat number 4 on the oval in event 126. So again, qualifying for the finals, the 9 fastest teams from the 6 events, event 125 through 130. Again, moving the stick along as an open lane or 2 on this circuit. Well, it looked like it. Nope, we're all filled. In lane 5, that is Monroe Township from New Jersey. And inside them, just a couple lanes in 4, that is LaSalle Academy.
Again, the low handoffs. I continue to see such, and it's just peeling my skin off right now.
Yeah, I think there was a reason for that, as if you want to call this finish, Phil.
Monroe Township with the win at 43.70.
I apologize for that, but so the second leg for that winning team was tall. I think he was taller than the third leg, which was shorter, so he had to contract his diaphragm to bend down and give him the stick. And then the shorter, diminutive third leg gave it to another taller anchor leg, so his hand was lower. So there are reasons, I believe, for that on that relay, but I would, as a coach, I would probably want to switch that because you got to get the stick around the track fast. You can be fast as they were, but the baton speed is what's crucial when you want to get down to the 42s and 41s and 40s, and if you're Jamaica, 39s.
For me, just what you just said, you could be a 5-foot and a 6-footer handing off, and the baton, the 6-footer could be high in the air, and that 5-footer is elevating in the sky with their stride.
Because your hand is coming to your eyes and your mouth anyway,
they will
right?
reach they'll give the baton to the 6-footer. It has happened numerous times.
All right, we are underway with heat number 5. In this event, event number 126 on your program. If you're following along at home, we're happy to have you with us for a long ride. As heat number 5, Arundel from Maryland, had the lead, but has given it up to Eastside and Oakdale. They are on their right. And that is Oakdale from Maryland in lane 8. Arundel from Maryland in 6. And Arundel gathers themselves with some strong running over heats legs 3 and 4, 43.07 with the win by over a half a second from Oakdale. Sean?
That may be the fastest time so far we're seeing.
I do believe you are correct. We were at 43.3s earlier in that opening event.
43.07.
43.07. They definitely are in the leadership spot in event number 126 as the new heat in place already.
As I said, it's warming up here and right inside of Philadelphia here now. It's about 70 degrees, somewhere around there right now. So as the day progresses with the heat, we should certainly see some fast times on the track for sure.
Sean, you talked about the feelings that sort of came back to you when you walked past the bullpen area. Give some thoughts on your tips of how you stay loose and stay warm, because you're brought in there, you're right behind everybody else. You were out there maybe doing a lot of striders, getting the blood pumping, getting the sweat built up, but now you're all gathered together waiting to go on the oval.
The objective is how much you warm up prior to the bullpen. That's important right there. How much you keep loose and how many clothing you're wearing. So that's crucial right there.
Right now, they are down to their kit, I am certain. On the outside, in 7, that is Townsend from Maryland. And lane 9 looking for the stick. Hamilton West having lots of difficulties. They are in the front right now, right against the wall, but had lots of troubles, lost some time. And to their left, 4 lanes, that is Hempfield from Pennsylvania, Eastern PA, that is. As Hempfield's going to run just outside the 44s, 44.02. Frederick Douglass, 44.59. And I know, in the cooler weather, I was always the guy, the last one to take his sweats off. The starter says, okay, everybody to the line, 800, 1632. I'm like, okay, I'm peeling off my sweats now. I'm keeping them on. I'm staying warm.
That's professional-like. You look at the professionals. The temperature is 90 degrees, and they're in full sweats. And I try to tell my youngsters I coach today that, guys, the temperature is 50 degrees and you're all in T-shirts and shorts. I said, no, you have to be dressed warm to keep the muscles, that elasticity going for you. Because Mother Nature is cooling it down, and that can create an injury.
And I think that maybe we're going to see a lot of that this weekend, because it's probably the warmest weather a lot have had this year. So they're going to take clothes off earlier than they normally would, and that is not really, like you mentioned, not really what you want to do. You want to keep them on. You want to keep the muscles. If you're sweating, that's a good thing.
And there is that shock to the system. You talk about if you're suddenly facing 80-degree temps when a day ago it was 55, and that was the warmest. That is sort of a shock to your system as you go from practicing in the 50s to racing in the 80s.
Big difference, and you see it on the clock as well, too.
In lane 9, Clayton from New Jersey. Got a couple strides over our squad in lane 4. That is Dover from Delaware. And Dover up against the rail in 4, high stepping it to the line. It's a tight one, but it is going to be Dover in the 43s, 43.57. So, Sean, the teams that ended up making the finals, whether it's the international final, the national, or the Northeast, what is it you as a coach would look at and try to give them that advice they need? Hey, we're going to get a good night's sleep tonight. We're coming back tomorrow for the finals. What are some of those things that normally at the top of the list, or what do you want to look at to maybe fix or improve upon?
Well, it's a combination of a million things based on your question. And that comes with recovery, what we eat the night before, how we sleep, and the pep talks before. So there's so much comes in play when you're preparing an athlete for a championship finals or just the regular finals, put it this way. It's a lot.
I think what I see a lot in Jamaica, just being here last year and just in a short time this year, I see them, they're serious. They're driven, they're focused. And it looks for me just from last year, they're fun, and this is fun, but their fun is winning. To me, that's they have fun when they win. Like they're driven, they're focused, and I see smiles after they win. The celebration that we see a lot from them, that's their fun because they accomplished what they came here to do. And I think it's all of that is focus and drive from them previously. Not that they're not having fun, but they show the fun they're having when they win, and winning is fun.
And the beauty about that, you look around the stands and you see your green, gold, and black. That speaks volume for them out there. Their adrenaline is at its highest at that time.
Edison from New Jersey on the outside in lane 9. Had the lead, but cruising home to victory in lane 6. That is Suffern from New York, 43.28. Also a very quick time. It looks like that's going to come up in the number 2 spot. Yeah, I mean, enjoying the flight home to Jamaica. It's a lot easier when you finish first here at the Penn Relays. It's like, you know what? We lost to that same team we lost to at the championships. That had to eat at you a little bit.
Let me put it this way. Just being here at the Penn Relays is a win-win situation.
Good. I agree.
Sometimes we lost, but we're at the Penn Relays. We competed or we participate. It's a life lesson, and it's something for the youngsters in history. They might never come back again, ever. So it's a win-win situation for them just being here. So as coaches, we just want to see them here participating or competing at the Penn Relays. It speaks volume for them. It's a lifetime status, if you understand.
No, and that actually takes me back to, we'll wait till this one gets started. Heat number 9, a high school basketball team I covered way back in the day when I was a newspaper sports writer. The coach told me after they lost the state final, you know, incredible team, and he said, but for some of these young ladies, this is going to be a lifetime event. Traveling to Columbus for the Ohio State Championships. It was, you know, maybe their last time they left town. You know, it was difficult to comprehend that, but it was a life moment. As right now, running in front of thousands of fans here at Franklin Field, this is going to be a close one, both inside and outside. In lane 2, Kellum from Virginia with the lead coming off the turn. And they're going to take that home. Will they be in the 43s? Yes, they will. 43.76 seconds for Johnson, Jones, Taylor, and Hampton running for Kellum from the state of Virginia.
I'm just watching them winning just now, and as I said, there are a lot of improvement on their exchange, and I expect as the season progresses, they will get better with their exchange.
And I think there are a lot of things you can do to, and I think it's in the coach's hands to improve the exchanges. I think a lot of times you think you got to get outside on the track. You got to run 120 meters to the person you're giving the stick to, and that's not necessarily true. I know old school, you do the stick, 1, 2, 3, stick. That's a good way to drill the high hands and the extension. But we do a lot of things in Texas, teams call them go-go's, where you're just a few steps apart. You're on the inside and outside, and you just 3, 4 quick steps, pop. And then when you have that under control, then you can expand. Then you run longer. And those could be speed work drills or speed work workouts instead of, oh, we're going to run and then go do handoffs. You can do handoffs with speed work if you've warmed up and done certain little things. But everybody wants to go, let's get on your marks and let's go 15 steps, 17, give them 19 when you're really not that fast. And then they want to run 120, 30 meters, and you don't have the basics down.
All right, Camden County Tech from New Jersey and Caravel from Delaware on the outside in 7 and 8. But they have company. It is a 3-team battle. We haven't seen that yet today. Caravel, Camden County. And it is Caravel with the win out of lane 7. 44-59. And they pulled away to victory by almost 0.7 of a second, but it was really tight going into the final. As you mentioned, Sean, a very short straightaway here at Franklin Field. So you have to have that foundation built and carry that speed to the end.
And especially for the anchor leg, if they're not a turn specialist as well and don't like the turn, here at Penn Relays, the turn is on the straightaway basically. After turn, you have half turn and half straightaway. So if you're not a turn person, do not go on the ankle leg. Tell the coaches from now.
You're right. They usually have a turn specialist, somebody you put on the turn. But here, like anchor 1, leadoff runner, turn. 2, turn. 3, turn.
Every single, except for well, I would say all 4 actually have to deal with turns.
They either start or end. Yeah.
Welcome to Franklin Field.
All right, heat number 11 in event 126. Once again, looking to the outside, out in 9. That is Old Tappan from New Jersey. They're looking pretty good right now going into the final. The exchange in front of the Hall of Fame here at Franklin Field. Late, high and wide, but in lane 3, that is Polytech from Delaware. Or the big red P on their uniform. It is a victory run, 43.65 by Polytech. Official time, 43.67.
Great finish there by Polytech there. The ankle leg made up a lot of ground actually there on the stagger there, because he got the baton just slightly, but he opened up from there on. So just picturing him getting the baton behind a meter or two, I think you'd have won the same way.
I think we get caught up in the fast time. Talking about Jamaica's 4 teams with 39s. That's beautiful. But just to the basic naked eye, seeing a good exchange zone, that baton getting in and out of that zone real quick, or the high knees and people leaning toward the finish line, that's just as beautiful as a 40-pointer, 39, in my opinion. It's execution.
You speak about the Jamaicans' top 4 teams, and it's all about the exchange for the championship, for the win. It's going to boil down to all about the exchange.
Yeah, when we get there, technique is going to be important.
Of course.
Because, like you mentioned, they're separated by mere hundredths of a second. So whoever's going to execute better that day and get to stick around the track faster is going to win.
All right, moving out to leg number 1 in heat number 12 of event 126. Down the back straight, New Brunswick from New Jersey out in lane 8. And in 6, 2 lanes to their left, Kennett from Pennsylvania in the blue and white kit has built a 5-meter lead going into the final leg. But so many things we've seen happen already, guys, going into the final leg, but we're not going to see a come-from-behind victory in this one. It is Kennett from Pennsylvania dominating this one, looking strong through the line. Oh, I thought we had a 42 and change, 43.06. It is the new number 1 in this event.
Well, we saw him powering his way down the top of the stretch there just now. Looking good and stepped nicely off the track.
Yeah,
with
that was
authority,
a good leg. That really was.
I mean, he came off the track with authority. You know?
Now, we've talked about game planning. We talked about using your personnel. If you are coming to Franklin Field, you're running the 4x1 relay. You have each runner running a little bit of their leg on the turn. Do you try to simulate that in the week or so before? I'm talking about the American teams that don't have to worry about travel, but do you try to maybe simulate, hey guys, we're going to be starting and ending in the middle of the track. Everybody's going to be running a little bit of turn here. Nobody's got a full straightaway straight. Do you game plan that?
I think you can. However, from the first track practice to now, if a coach is instilling in their runner, you run. Start to finish, you run. Don't let anything psych you out. Don't look at the lane next to you. Don't look at, just run. Then, I mean, human nature should take over. I would think everybody has their preferences, straightaway or curve, but as Sean, you were both alluding to, Franklin Field, there's no straight runner. There's no curve runner. You're both.
It is true. All right, it looks like we do have one open lane in this one. So 1 and 2, and then 4 through 9. And we are underway. Heat number 13. And a pretty strong baton pass in the middle of the track. That is lane 6, Summers from New York. And the red and white, they get the baton, change hands, and they're trying to run down Shipley from Pennsylvania. Things are getting tight here going into the final 100 meters. And we have 6 teams, holy cow, coming to the line. This is tight. And moving out in lane 7, that is Atlantic County Tech.
That was beautiful, wasn't it, Phil?
That was.
Yeah, what, like you said, 6 teams right there exchanging at the same time.
Good stuff. It isn't the fastest heat, but 44-42 for Atlantic County Tech. They will get the win by 0.4 of a second.
And what I was saying moments ago, Phil, you got to pay attention to your lane. Because if you're looking at someone else's incoming runner and not looking at your own, not hit that mark, it's over. And I think all 6 of those teams handled that very well. I'll say very well.
So there's a lot of things to be a spectator about, but not when it comes to your lane when you're on the track at Franklin Field.
Yeah, no, you want to pay attention to your incoming runner and your mark, or it can get real ugly real quick.
And that's what the 4x1 is about. You have to focus on your incoming runner, no one else. Because it could be a distraction looking across other lanes and other competitors. It's over from there on. You miss the mark, everything. And that's a collision right there. So you must remain focused on your incoming runner.
So it boils down to the 4x1 can be a thing of exquisite beauty or a train wreck.
Exactly. The communication is important.
All right, we are now at event 127, the first heat in this one. And on the outside, in lane 8, excuse me, that is in lane 9, that is Saul, WB Saul, running for home up against the wall. Check that is Loyola Blakefield. They were in 8. So Loyola Blakefield, 42.91.
That's the fastest time we've seen so far.
We're getting better.
42.91.
Getting faster, and they win that one, as you can see, by almost a full second over Saratoga Springs.
Saratoga Springs here, the 4x1. Normally, Saratoga Springs is a 4x800 distance medley.
Yeah.
I'm proud to see Saratoga
everything
Springs.
distance.
Yeah.
But they're showing us they can run a 4x1 today, right?
I'm impressed with such. Great job, coaches. Down here in Saratoga Springs. Excellent job. 43.86.
Well,
congratulations, huh?
If I remember
Maybe
right,
a school
Sean,
record, right? That may be a school record. Who knows?
if I remember right, some of the Jamaican schools are pretty good in the 4x8, aren't they? That's like a middle distance run, right?
Well, remember, if I'm not mistaken, Jamaicans may have most of the 4x800 in the record. Penn Relay history, maybe.
Jamaica College won last year, didn't they?
Yeah. I believe so, yeah.
Jamaica College, yes. Jamaica College last year. Go back to my history.
All right, and that 4x8 boys championship race should be a great one tomorrow, late afternoon here in Philadelphia. Taking a look back at this progress, heat number 2, event 127. On the outside again in lane 9, that is Pine Bush from New York. They have the lead, they have the baton in the hands of their anchor, but looking at lane 4, East Orange from New Jersey. East Orange going to be victorious. Will they be the fastest we've seen so far? And yes, they will.
And Sean, I saw you pointing, and you were pointing what I was thinking. East Orange, even though they won 42-65, that is really good. But there was a lot of baton jostling and hitting and moving on that second and third leg, and that may have slowed them down a little bit. I saw you point, and I saw that immediately. Were you pointing at that?
Actually, no.
I'm wrong.
I was a little bit off right there pointing.
But what were you pointing at? Oh.
He was being a spectator, that's what he was doing.
But I'm impressed. The 42-65, I'm impressed. But I think the second leg might have gotten too much of the baton. And right before the exchange zone, he was hitting it on his leg, which is not really what you want to do. You want to hit it on your leg. And then the third leg had to make an adjustment too. So there are times where you do have to make adjustments on the fly. I do want to say that.
Yes.
All right, we are underway in one of the Jamaican teams in this heat. Lane number 4, that is Guys Hill, Graham, Murphy, Russell, and Basco running for the Jamaican team. Reading, Walter Johnson, Pingree, South Philadelphia, Lancaster Catholic, John Bartram, Cornwall, and Central Bucks East. And right in the middle of the track, some difficulty with the baton exchange we saw in the blue and gold, but on the outside, in all white, lane 9, Central Bucks East. Their incoming runner clapping, happy with what he's seen so far and helped contribute to. It is Central Bucks East up against the wall with the win. They're going to go 43 mid. Their official time, 43-46. All right, so an opportunity to take a look at, dissect some of what we've just seen from Central Bucks East, 43-46. The baton work, here it is, Sean.
Look at the incoming runner out there now. Look at they're wide actually. Geisel there had problems down inside there in lane number 4. I mean, the winner is on the stand side. At this point, we can't see them, but we're seeing some problems there with the Jamaican team. The Geisel right there, that was a poor exchange.
Yeah, in one lane, you have 2 alleys.
I'm looking at the replay, and the team from Jamaica, Geisel, it was horrendous there on the first and second exchange.
Yeah, you have to stay on your side of the lane, or else you're going to run into someone and have a lot of problems.
That's the problem right there, the communication I said earlier. And we just saw that with the Jamaican team just now. Geisel, they were in the center of the track. The receiving runner was actually in the center of the lane, while he should be either on the left or right, whichever hand, the opposite side of the track, giving the incoming runner a clean pathway, and that wasn't there actually just now. So we just saw a horrible exchange right there on Geisel.
All right, heat number 4 coming up in event 127 here at Franklin Field in Philadelphia. Phil Grove, Will Grundy, Sean Phillips, a beautiful start to a fantastic 3-day weekend live track and field on FloTrack, bringing it all to you from East Coast to West Coast over these last couple weeks. Out at Brian Clay a week ago, that was a great gathering of distance runners. Predominantly the weather is always perfect, but the weather is just about perfect here in Philadelphia.
Say no more. We're going up to 70 degrees, and you can't ask for more. The humidity at 55, come on. Fantastic weather here.
All right, again, a big battle on the outside in 7, 8, and 9. That is Egg Harbor Township, Trenton Central, and Du Bois Collegiate, representing New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Difficulty with a baton. Again, head in hand, you don't like to see that. Things are going to tighten up, folks. I could see 7 teams with an opportunity to win this based on the passes.
This is a wide open affair here.
They're all coming to the line on the inside in 1. That is Malvern Prep. Are they going to pull it out? Oh, they get 3rd. But on the outside, it looked like that is Trenton Central, 44-43.
This is how you like to see a 4x1 come down. This is what we want to see here. The last 80 meters, wide open affair. Until the team that got the baton first, you could see the difference in the last 50 meters.
Yeah,
the execution was well.
We saw that a couple of heats ago where 4 or 5 teams are coming in together into the last exchange, and that's what you love to see as a spectator, and then you get to watch who has the best anchor leg.
Well, we've seen such ebb and flow in these 4x1s. You know, everything looks to be decided on the back straightaway, and all of a sudden we're going to the anchor, and it's 6-18.
But that's what the Penn Relay is all about. The kind of excitement that we just saw. And much more to come later on.
Oh, absolutely.
And how many of your high school coaches look old or like they're not the athlete that they say they are? That's because the 4x1 will do that to you. It will make you crazy.
All right, heat number 5 in event 127. And we'll see if everything looks decided on the back straightaway this time. In 8, that is Cherry Hill West from New Jersey.
That lane 3 looking good also, too.
Yeah, that second leg was a monster.
Forest Park from Maryland seemingly has an advantage right now, but we're looking inside as well. The gentleman just said in lane 3. There they are. That is J.P. McCaskey from Pennsylvania. It looks like a Keystone State squad will be victorious. That great overhead shot just on the outside of 43 seconds.
We saw that we saw that on the backstretch right there, and that's where I can actually pinpoint who has an advantage right there. Is who can sustain from there on. And lane number 3 right there, which is J.P.
McCaskey.
43-15. I mean, if I'm predicting a winner from the second exchange.
Oh, yeah. Southern Regional had a good second leg as well, and I think that's why those two were first and second in that heat.
There's a shot of the upper deck at this 2-level stadium. One of the first, I believe, might have been the first in the country. 1895, they put bricks and mortar together to build this fantastic venue. The first event, the Penn Relays, of course. This is the 129th running. You are watching FloTrack. Live coverage Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 33rd Street in Philadelphia.
I'm looking at the crowd again. I'm impressed. I don't think I can remember in years on a Thursday we having so much people here in the stands. It's normally quiet.
Wow.
And look around the stadium today. So we're looking to see about 70,000 people on Saturday, despite the rain scheduled for.
That would be fantastic, both inside the stadium here and outside with the throws venues, etc. They have a new indoor facility at Penn. Wow, things are just focused on track and field at this university. In lane 7, Radnor from PA. Again, have that edge going into the turn, but look at the teams. We have 3 or 4 closing in lane 2. That is Union Catholic from New Jersey. You know they love track and field and excel on the ovals. Union Catholic, 43-35.
From lane number 2. So a great display there by Union Catholic now.
Yeah, and I want to bring this up. I don't think you were here when I mentioned this earlier, Sean, that Union Catholic, our New Jersey, one of our New Jersey Moscow people, Jim Lambert, told me that they have 2 guys in the 4x1. They ran on the 4x8 earlier, and they're going to run on the 4x4 later this afternoon.
That shows it's not just talent, that's gifted.
Yeah. You got a kid that can do that.
When you have a kid, and especially being competitive, You have an athlete who you can actually circulate on a team like that, multiple 4x1 to 4x800. That's not talent. That's gifted. Right
Yeah,
there.
that makes coaching a lot easier. You got kids that can do that. To have 2 of them, man.
Yeah, I anchored by 4x8 in high school, but I wouldn't have smelled the 4x1 in any way, shape, or form.
It's a mismatch.
Yeah,
You got field days when you find out what a kid can and can't do back in middle school. Good luck with those 2, man. They can do everything.
All right, heat number 7 in event 127. Again, all the way through event 130 to qualify for the championship races tomorrow with the 9 facets for the championship, the international teams, and the national and the Northeast. So lots of 4x1 action for the boys tomorrow. The girls' day will be tomorrow, Friday, and then everything just coming to a fever pitch on Saturday. Looking for the baton, the anchor runners out in 9. That's E.C. Fieldston, but it is lane 4, Paint Branch from Maryland.
Yeah, that was a good extension from the anchor leg on that exchange.
43 low for the winner, Paint Branch.
And I continue to see the hands pretty high now. The teams that's running actually faster now, you start seeing the exchange getting much better because the hands are pretty high, which I'm looking for. So that was great just now. The exchange, the third and fourth leg, you could see the handoffs. I mean, their hands was in the sky actually, saying hello to Jesus.
Well, you mentioned you got a 6-footer. How long? His arms have to be pretty long. You got to get full extension. That makes it easier for your third leg, and you get the baton faster. There's less distance there, and you get it onto your doing your thing on anchor leg duties.
And a look from overhead at the start-finish line again, going without starting blocks in the prelim heats, again, to keep the meet moving along. So many races to squeeze in over 3 days' time. And a fair start. Once again, we've been almost clean the entire way. Again, we're only just a couple hours into this year's Penn Relays.
It's good first leg in lane 1.
I'm seeing a runner there on the second exchange. I mean, the first and second, what's happening in the backstretch there, is it?
So it looks like 1, 8, and 9, as Will said. That's Ridge in 1, Ridgewood and Osborne Park in 8 and 9. And out in lane 9, that is Osborne Park from Virginia. And overhead shot gives us a good look as they come to start finish. They will be 43 mid.
Did you guys saw what happened just now on the second exchange, the second and third exchange there? I think the team in lane number 4. I mean, if we could just get a review on the backstretch there. I seen a runner there actually maybe literally limping from the second exchange from the start to the third leg, limping from the start.
Maybe something, who knows, something happened in the warm-up maybe that coach wasn't aware of. That's not the leg that, well, you don't have anyone limping, but on second leg, you got all those monsters, those dogs on second leg, you got to be coming with it. So that's unfortunate for that team.
That just shows to me that as if they only had 4 legs and this person was injured and they put him on there just to take the baton around. And that's what we spoke about earlier, about these athletes being here at Franklin Field just to compete or participate on the track means a lot to them because they're using an athlete who actually is injured on the second leg just to get the baton around, just to compete. So the statistics for each of these kids is big for them, just being here at Franklin Field.
Yeah, there's so many of these events that one and done that you really have to qualify. You have to have that performance in by the end of March, then can improve, I think, in the following week. But they shut it down a long way in advance of everybody gathering here at 33rd Street in Philadelphia. On the outside in lane 8 and 9, that is St. Francis Prep and Chatham. Right in the middle of the zone, Chatham with the, or St. Francis Prep, excuse me, with the baton exchange, a safe one in lanes 8 and 6. St. Francis Prep and Allentown. It is Allentown now with the lead. Headed for home in lane 4, St. Vincent Grammar.
Very smooth, clean. The exchange was
42-47, Sean.
look at the exchange with the third and fourth leg just now. I mean, he's a clean sprinter, though.
Yeah, I saw 4 sprinters on that relay. You can look at their form.
He's a clean, pure sprinter right there.
Yeah, that anchor leg was very efficient in his form. I see why he's on the 4th leg for Allentown.
So the team from New Jersey, the new number 1 so far today?
42-47. I expect them, as the season progresses, to see them dropping maybe even a second off.
Yeah, hands were high on their passes.
Yes.
Another full field. Always great to see. No open lanes. All 9 teams that were registered for this. Heat number 10, Urbana, Wequinnick, Eagle Academy, Southern Lehigh, St. Francis Academy, Central York, Hempstead, and Harrington. And in 6, and it looks like now we have a runner pull up out in lane 7. That was Hempstead's runner.
Is that Hempstead again?
That is Harrington in 8. And he's going to be challenged by the teams to his left. In 5 and 6, St. Francis Academy and Central York. And in 1, Urbana from Maryland out of the picture, but now the first across the finish line. Urbana 43-43.
I admire that finish just now. From lane 1, very determined right there.
Yeah.
It's tough to even run and winning from lane 1 and running 43-43.
Yeah, and we saw the previous heat winner. I mentioned their 4 legs. Their first leg for Urbana, he meant business when didn't come out of the blocks. But I saw him chopping. Arms were going back and forth, no side-to-side motion, and it was a good first exchange from him the second leg. And to see their anchor leg come out with it, they came here for business. They want to run twice this weekend.
43-43 from Urbana, and on this track.
In lane 1.
That's what I'm saying, lane
even
1.
Tighter.
You're picturing them, they could easily take off even half a second.
Yeah.
43 flat, right around there.
And a lot of times lane 1 gets overlooked because we're looking in the middle of the track, but Urbana said, oh, do that if you want to. Let me show you.
And that is a good point, Willie, you just made about they don't want to be one and done. They want to run again. They want to have another 4x1 relay. They came out here maybe a long trip. They want to make certain they get a chance to run again at Franklin Field.
Yeah, and when we mentioned the corral and all that, warming up and stuff with your boys or your girls, I mean, that feels good. And to get a chance to do it, I can get to do this again and come out and run in front of more people. Oh, yeah, I'm down for that.
And the weather is perfect. Yeah, I'll do that. Things are looking tight in the middle of the track. In lane 4, that is Dwight Morrow. Along the rail in 2 lanes to their outside, Howard Tech. So the middle of the track in 4 and 6, I don't think things will tighten up as they have previously. It is Howard Tech and Dwight Morrow. This one's going to be close. To the line, it is Dwight Morrow with the win in the 42s once again, guys.
Yeah, and their third leg had a little mishap when he took off. And so the second leg ran up on him, but for them to still be able to get the stick and finish strong, good job, Dwight Morrow.
The anchor leg there came up really, really nice at the top of the stretch. I mean, look at his stepping. He's covering real estate. I mean, giant strides coming from him right there. The difference with sprinting is that when you can elevate your strides to cover over 2 meters, it speaks volume on the track. And with the power behind that, and this is why sprinting is so different, because when you learn to elevate your hip flexors and come with power with that, you're exceptional.
Yeah, and you got to go through the phases, which we're seeing a lot of these anchor legs do. Like they're driving at the early parts of the acceleration, and when they're able to bring the hips down over the feet, like you just mentioned, I mean, it looks good for one. It looks amazing. And it allows you to run faster and drive to the finish line, and you decelerate a lot easier or a lot slower when you do that.
So it's not always who has the longest inseam that equates to long stride length, if you're doing it right.
If you're doing it right.
All right, on the outside, Bishop O'Connell in 9, Swenson Arts and Tech in 8. And in lane 7, Haverford. Getting out quick early, making that exchange from left hand to right hand. So it is Haverford going to have the lead going into the final baton pass. They get it done. Sort of mid, not high and wide, but not low. Haverford challenge to the line and winning it on the outside is Bishop O'Connell, 43.50. So that sort of was a middle as far as hand placement. Not low, but not high.
It's in between right there. But however, the proper way is to keep the hands high. You're safer in that sense. You're always safe, much safer when you're higher with your hands, receiving the baton in that L. Your hands should be in an L format, in an L shape.
Absolutely. We used to teach, throw the elbow back, lock it, so the arm, you're not shaking, and then you got your hand, your palm down, give it to him, and then your responsibility is done. It's on that incoming runner to give you the stick.
99.9%, they have a responsibility because my back is turned, I'm handicapped from there. So communication is coming from the incoming runner to the receiver. So that's why I said earlier, the incoming runner has a responsibility of the back of the receiver.
East Pennsboro in lane 4, right along the rail, had a very good first leg. Smooth baton pass. We'll see how this all develops for that squad. And their number 3 runner getting a little later in the zone. Out in 9, that is Cardinal Spellman. And challenging just to their left in 8, that is Willingboro. So it is Willingboro out in lane 8. It's going to be victorious and 43.41 seconds.
I thought the times was going to be much faster than what I just saw. 43.4. I swear I've seen a 41.9. Can we determine where the wind is actually blowing from here?
So actually, the second legs, I believe, have a headwind. So they're running into the headwind. Right. Then, well, and the second half of the first leg. But it's a tailwind on the second half of the third leg and the fourth leg.
So I'm looking right over at Texas, and I see that flag is definitely going, as you said, headwind for those runners down the back straightaway.
You had to call out Texas talking about winds, correct?
Well, I see the Ohio flag's 2 over. I could have done that and given
yeah,
all
Phil, I know what you're doing there. I know what you're doing.
All right, but yeah, we did have a shot earlier of some people on the top of the upper deck, rhythmic clapping, and we could definitely see there was some wind blowing.
Lane 1.
Lane 1's looking pretty good. That is Timber Creek.
Also lane 2.
And in 3, that is Kellingburg Memorial. Oh, and lane 1 dropped the baton. Kellingburg Memorial, though, still looking good in lane 3.
That
right
cluster
next
on
to
the
rail.
outside.
Lane 3 right now.
It is Kellingburg Memorial.
Yeah. From the second exchange.
There we go. Coming to the line. They will win this one. 43 mid.
I think they're mistaking the line because at the finish line, they continue to pour it on and compete. I mean, they kept their form all the way through to actually, that's another maybe about 20 more meters. If we can get them to do this in training,
so
to run through the line.
Taking another look, Sean and Will, at the baton work down the back straightaway. And we saw, again, the team in the wrong lane. Oh,
Two teams in the wrong lane.
2 of them in the middle of the track. That's the second time we've seen that today. But Kellingburg Memorial, they were outside of that. They were inside the rail.
They were clean the entire trip.
That's right.
Yeah, I think lane 4 and 5, both of their runners were in their second legs were in the wrong lane. And I don't know what happened over there when they get to start, but the third legs were like, what the what?
And I know as we look up at the scoreboard, we see instead of hip numbers, we're seeing US, PY, RZ. So you can't like look down at yourself and say, oh, I'm in lane 4 because I have a 4 on my hip. Honestly, you know. So I can see that some of the confusion if you aren't clear when they lead you out to your vantage point. I'm in lane 4. And we've seen that now twice at least. Again, the onus is on the athlete to know what lane they are in as we are rocking and rolling. And high and wide in lane 9, that is Summit.
Lane number 7. Making up tremendous amount of ground on the backstretch there. But
that is Lenape and Washington Liberty in 8. So 7, 8, 9, we see 4 teams coming together, guys, into the final exchange zone. Big separation between those 4 and the rest of the field. In lane 5, that is Hudson Catholic. Can they hold on over Lenape? Lenape at the line. I'm going to give the nod to Lenape. Wow.
Lane number 7,
it
right?
is 42-74.
Yes. They had a mishap on their exchange. Somewhere there between the second and third, I think there was a mishap.
They win by 300s. That is the number 2 time in this event, and they are happy.
They're much the best here because they had a little mishap on the exchange in the second and third, and to come back winning right there on the line. Great performance by them there.
Cost them a couple tenths, I would think.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, everybody, get buckled in. Things are going to get hot here pretty quick as we have those 4 Jamaican teams under 40 seconds, the slew of American teams right behind them, Archbishop Carroll Bullis, and then a number of other Jamaican teams all the way up through 41-10. Well, I think I see a dozen teams down there.
It's going to be interesting later on. We just got to keep our eyes on the clock and also the weather, how much the wind, the changes of the wind inside here, Franklin Field. Because with sprinting, the wind is very important.
This is heat number 4 in event 128. So we have 2 additional groupings of 4x1 teams. So it's not over yet. As in lane 8, that is Red Lion Christian. On the outside is 3 teams are grouping together to make this a battle to the line. In 7, Bishop Hendrickton. But in lane 1, don't give up on Westfield. It is Westfield in lane 1.
Wow.
And right beside them, William Penn, 44-19, 44-25. We have seen some incredibly tight races in the 44s today.
Yes, when you can win from lane 1 on Franklin Field, it speaks something right there. Because give yourself half a second faster in lane 6, 7, 8, and 9. As a coach, myself, I'm giving myself half a second better if I'm winning from lane 1.
Yeah, and I think you have winners when they're able to do that because the coach, it doesn't matter if you're lane 1 or lane 8 or here lane 9. They want you to do whatever. And, despite hearing that, how many times you hear it, it's in your mind that, man, I'm in lane 1, I'm in lane 9. Before come out here and do that and win your heat, that's big time.
Now, I know we're out of harm's way when it comes to the potential for precipitation on Saturday, but I can start to feel the wind here. So what we've been talking about, the breeze, every once in a while you get a little gust, and we are well back from the overhang here at this double-decker stadium. In lane 9, Lake Braddock.
Seeing a horrible exchange there from lane number 5.
Yeah, that put them
And
in
that's
a hole.
Hackensack. Is that Hackensack in lane 5? The exchange there just now wasn't the best, and they continues to, hand off pretty low. Hackensack.
Definitely was a low exchange. Upper Marion in 6, but we got a bunch of teams here. It looks like 6 squads. Also have some action on the inside. In lane 1, that is Spring Ford. In the blue and white, in 2, Queens Royal College. It is Queens Royal College looking smooth and fast, and in the 42s.
Much the best. Much the best. Great execution from him there. Clean sprinter. High knees, his arms, brushing the hips towards the shoulder. Clean. Very smooth.
Hackensack recovered to finish second in that heat at 43-41. You see the numbers popping up.
And with a poor exchange, Hackensack the entire way, their exchanges was horrible.
See some of the banners above Franklin Field showing the breeze that is blowing. And again, on the running surface, difficult for us to say exactly what the effect is, but we can feel it up here about 30 feet above the track as heat number 6, event 128, Old Glory, showing the breezes in Philadelphia on this beautiful Thursday in April. We are underway.
clean on that first exchange from everyone.
Some high knees on the outside in lane 9. Also in lane 4, that is Bayard Rustin in 4, and 9, that is Nagatuk.
4 is looking good.
Nagatuk looking good right now. Look at the exchange here.
And in 9, Nagatuk, though, they did not carry that momentum through the zone, ran up right on that outgoing runner. And in 4, it is going to be Bayard Rustin with the win by just about half a meter over Beloved Charter. 43.19, a good time. They win by 800ths.
If I'm Bayard Rustin's anchor leg, I'm like, dude, thanks. Third leg, second leg, first leg. When you got guys that do their job before you, it makes it look easier for you. And I was definitely watching. I mean, you called their name out during the race. Second, third, and first leg definitely did the work on that relay.
I mean, Nagatuk actually had the lead until the third exchange. The fourth leg, that's where they lost the lead right there. So I think they may have loaded up from the top 3 athletes to the slow one, maybe. The slower athlete, because they had the lead.
Yeah, you got to give yourself a shot, though. And I think they did that.
That's my style.
I prefer to run from the front than the back.
The race runs from the front.
'Tis true on a Thursday in Philadelphia. The teams Wall, Xavier, Paul VI, Notre Dame. Garnet Valley up. Uh-oh, that is not the sound we want to hear. The recall starts second gun. And I see a red card in, unfortunately, on the outside in 8.
Never a good sign at the Penn Relays.
Not a good sign of that
That's
young man.
4 athletes who this is their dream.
Disappointed in what has just transpired for Red Bank.
And you can see the frustration right there from the runner. And I can imagine his other 3 teammates also having the same feeling right now.
So the rest of the alignment, Garnet Valley in 5, Central Bucks South, Rye Country, and Marlboro now has an empty lane next to them. On the outside in 9, we are underway. And in lane 5, oops, sorry, Garnet Valley looking good.
Yeah, they look really good. Really good first leg there.
Can they sustain from here on? Because Garnet Valley, they have a slight lead.
But they lost so much of that speed going into that second to third. Yep.
So the stagger should have been much more, if you ask me, on the second and third exchange. Well, this one looking good right here. Yep, Garnet Valley.
Garnet Valley has had a couple good baton passes, but great speed all the way around the oval. The Pennsylvania team will be victorious 42-37.
I like that. I like the way he executed at the top of the stretch as well. And continue, even when he got to the line, he just kept going.
Yeah. Even though they ran so well and that's a fast time day, I'm going to nitpick. If he'd have gave 1 more step or 2 more steps to that third leg, they're at 42 low, even lower.
I was going to say 41.9.
Maybe, yeah.
Give
I mean, that was a really good run from start to finish from them. So I just want to nitpick and, yeah.
So the third exchange did not get out fast enough.
No, yes.
They're a 41-second team.
Yes.
You guys agree with that?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And we saw a lot of yellow and green. Right. We're seeing more. I'm starting to smell some things. The next step is the noise. So we'll know when Jamaica's in full-fledged here on Thursday. But it's getting the steps 1 and 2 have.
Well, they're in line. They're here already.
But do you guys are y'all starting to smell it? You starting to smell?
Yes.
Little by little, yeah.
Little by little. We are here.
Getting back to that lost momentum in the exchange, it's almost like, again, driving down the freeway and all of a sudden you see brake lights ahead of you. It's like, all right, what's going on? Guys, we need to keep going here. If we're going 70, let's go. Let's keep it going. Seriously.
I saw a lot of that already this morning driving in.
All right, here we go, middle of the track. And looks like St. John's College in 5 from D.C. Came in with one of the top 4x8 teams. They're looking very good. They've made up the stagger on everybody to their right. St. John's College, that's a good baton pass. They're going to come for home.
Excellent exchange right there.
But they are giving up their lead. St. John's College being challenged out of 2 by Mount Olive of New Jersey, but both are in the 42s. Up St. John's College is Mount Olive at 43.18.
Yeah, and St. John's College, I think they were just chilling today in the 4x8 because they ran, 736 or 737 indoors, which is rolling.
Right.
And to see them have a heat-winning 4x1, just shows how deep and how overall the quality of that squad is.
Their program has been doing very well so far, and 42 and change right now, and 737 indoors.
Yeah.
That's a lot of running. You know.
That's 737.
They ran
Crazy.
740 this morning. I was in.
Yeah,
They run that fast?
Yeah,
morning, so-
in the 40s, right. They were one of the 6 teams in those first 2 heats, so it was in the 740s.
So they should go about 733, maybe, if they're pressured.
I would
If
like
they're
to see.
pressured.
Yeah.
I would like to see.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
I think 727 or 728 is the national
The
record.
4x8 is very. It's you can't predict so much because it all depends on how the race unfolds.
Right. Yes.
You know,
I
how much
completely
they
agree.
pressure each other. It's the times.
Oh,
False
no.
start there. You know, they want to save something for the final. You know.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited for that men's and women's 4x8 final.
Great program going on over there. Though.
Again, we see the boys running today, the girls tomorrow in those races where we have prelims, which again, all the way up through the 4x8. So a lot of relay action squeezed together in the greatest American track and field meet in its 129th running, the Penn Relays at Franklin Field. Again, 2 times too close together we've heard that recall gun. Not a good thing to hear, but we are underway now, and we do have an empty lane on the oval.
That's unfortunate.
Who gets the early call, guys? It looks like in lane 8 that it was Neshemini in red and white, but
Lane number 3 also there, which is that's right way.
7 Carlisle.
Third leg
going
got out.
deep in the zone, right before the yellow triangle. Am I seeing white flags? I do see white flags in the 3rd exchange. Coming to the line on the inside in lane 3. That is Rahway from New Jersey. Motoring to the finish line. 42.96.
They led from the start. They were clear from the start. All 4 exchange, they had a lead. So
I think the first legs all together were almost even, but as you mentioned earlier, Sean, you can see a lot in a transition on that second leg, and that's where a lot of transition started happening in that entire heat.
42.96. I mean, I'm picturing them in a field that they could run maybe 41 and better in a much more competitive field. And the question I ask at this time of the year is how many 4x1s the teams that ran under 43 seconds, how many 4x1s that already run since the year started?
Well,
maybe Penn Relays is the first race, you know. So
True.
And maybe for this grouping that's running here, they could have had different guys in it, somebody coming off an injury or maybe played a different winter sport than indoor track. And also in New Jersey, you have the Meet of Champions, so their season even goes longer than like a Pennsylvania or an Ohio.
interesting.
I think the good coaches break your season up in stages.
And a casualty on the outside in lane 9, not able to pass the stick.
We'll
Time
speak about
to
that.
break that one down.
We're going to break it down after the race.
And out in lane 8, clear of the field, they all have an empty lane to their right. They're the team from American Military Academy. But it's getting tight on the inside in 1 and 2. They won't make it to the finish as the winner, but 1, 2, and 3. Wow, that's a tight finish inside the rail. American Military Academy 43-44 wins by 0.7 of a second.
Let's talk about what happened in the first and second exchange right there. This is the 1% mistake that the receiver can make by running away from your incoming athlete. When you look back at the race, we saw clearly where he took off way too early right there.
Yeah.
And that was just the drama right there.
And that's the point where you're saying, we said this before, you have to watch your man and your mark. Because if you're watching your mark or your man, when they're going to meet up eventually, and that's when you have to go. And taking out too early is almost you can't do that. You can't do that. You got to give your team a chance.
That's where coach is going to be screaming now.
Yeah, it's going to be unhappy.
Yes.
But it's a teaching moment.
All right, gentlemen, we're about 2/3 of the way through these heats, so things are really going to get fast. We've seen teams in the 42s, but not in the 41s yet. They're
Not
coming.
yet.
Oh, my goodness, what's going on? Oh,
Madness.
wow. that could have been very tragic.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been an injury situation.
It was for one of those teams.
Right. They were supposed to be on the outside in 9, but okay. We'll look at the Lower Merion right now in 2. But the wind's going to go to lane 8. That one is just so difficult to describe. We'll have to go back, hopefully get another look at that Newburgh free, 44-24. Lots of confusion again in that second to third leg. Those athletes 3 times now at least have not been able to figure out what lane they're supposed to be in. Newburgh free, you can see, wins by 300ths. Wow, let's take another look at the near calamity on the back straightaway. One of the athletes affected by that, the number 3 runner trying to find his lane. They were looking good out in lane 9 at the time. Looking back, he was going to, it is just so fortunate that nobody made contact with that runner, but unfortunately for that team out in line 9,
I am very speechless with that, right?
Yeah.
My man was in lane 1, then went out to lane 8, then went back.
This is why I like the Penn Relay this time of the year with the novices out there right now and not knowing where they're supposed to be, their first 4x100 meters.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to see.
Yeah, that cost one of the team that was in the lead.
All right,
sure.
I'm going to speak about
tenths of a second, sure.
The officials.
Yeah.
The officials are in position to make sure the athletes are in their right position. That's why they're over there.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the communication with the official looking to make sure all the athletes in their lane? He was all over the place just now.
He definitely was. In the right place in lane 7. That was Plainfield, but had difficulty with the baton pass. We're seeing how early in the season this is for a lot of these teams. Lots of difficulty. As out in lane 9, that is Garfield.
They've had some good exchanges so far in this race.
Plainfield now in 7. Got their everything together. It is going to be Plainfield in 7. And in lane 3, that is Freedom South Riding. Freedom South Riding, 42 point, another squad under 43 seconds. 42.87 the squad from Virginia, Seti, Danberg, Vilhas, and Johnson.
Where's Freedom South Riding from?
They are from Virginia.
That was a nice anchor leg.
Nice anchor leg, and I admire his step in there coming home just now. Clean.
I'm still trying to figure out the race before, though, Sean. If I wake up in the middle of the night screaming, it's going to be because of that. That really could have been.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing, everyone unscathed.
Right. No
unharmed.
injuries, yeah.
Well, came away unharmed, so.
And the sad part, one team got DQ'd and didn't finish their run here.
I'm pulling my hair right now in my head.
The second leg, in the replay, the dude is like, his hands were so demonstrative. Where are you at? What are you doing?
All right, here we go, folks. We're at heat number 13 in event 128. So we have 2 full groupings still to go, Will and Sean. Again, all of those Jamaican teams, Archbishop Carroll from D.C., Bullis from Maryland. They've made the headlines all throughout the indoor season in previous years. It really is going to be exciting here in these next 20 minutes, half hour.
Well, that's the showdown, actually. It's Bullis, Kingston College. I mean, Bullis is under pressure here, meaning they have the high school, the best high school, both boys and girls, competing amongst the best junior athletes in the world. And look, my prediction, I won't say right now. I will say it later on, but I won't say it right now.
Not fair.
I won't say my prediction right now. I'll save it for later.
Write it down. Put it on a piece of paper so you don't change your mind.
So we know he didn't change his mind.
Yeah. All right, in lane 2. That is Piscataway from New Jersey. Can we see a 41? Oh, no, getting closer. 42-40.
42-40, pretty nice.
41 officially.
Their first leg was awesome. I mean, and you say everyone has their responsibility, but the first leg sets the tone. Their first leg definitely did that.
So that's where you talk about teamwork. Everyone fed off what they saw from the beginning, and it carried through on every leg from there on.
Yeah.
You saw those numbers.
42-41.
Yeah, 2 teams under 43 seconds in that one. Sean and Will. I love that overhead shot. Just just being up above the action, getting that vantage point. We're so many times we're at a track meet, we're on the infield, we can't see everything that's going on. Here we just have the great position right at start finish. Yeah.
The overview is always a plus because our visual is clear. We can see the lanes, the athletes on the same level with them. We can't tell who's in what lane. Right here we can see basically everything right here. So the overview is always a plus.
Like birds hanging out on the power line, just looking at everything down below. Bird's eye view.
Well, I tell you what, I'm happy we have our seats sort of reserved for us because it's going to be a big crowd here tomorrow and Saturday, and it's a big one here today. Thursday at Franklin Field. Again, inside that rail in lane 3, Riverdale Baptist. I know I've called their name before.
They look good. They're looking good, Phil.
And their number 3 runner was lending support to their anchor. 42:04.03. That is the new number 1 time we have seen today, guys.
Despite winning just now, the 3rd and 4th exchange wasn't the best. Again, we saw where the 3rd leg actually ran up almost into the anchor leg right there just now. But you could see a chemistry there with them for him to actually give him the baton. Still, despite he ran into him right there.
And I think you'll agree, that's a 41-second team if they fix that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I agree.
42:03, though, they win that one by almost a full second, Will, when you mentioned it, that was all theirs. Riverdale Baptist showing the way as heat number 2. And again, our next to last grouping of 4x1 heats for the high school boys. They are qualifying for tomorrow's finals during the 1 o'clock hour. You'll definitely want to jot that time down to be back with us during the 3 days of live coverage on FloTrack. Good speed and pass out in 8. Long reach from Maryland.
It's hard to tell from here who has a slight lead. Maybe lane number 5? Maybe, I'm not sure
but down in the earlier lane.
Maybe Grafton, maybe Grafton.
Long reach went late into the zone again. They're going late this time. They have solid baton passes. They have the lead, but the speed on the inside into Albany from New York. Things are picking up. 42:84, 42:85 officially, the number 2 time early on in this event, 129 for Albany.
It was a wide open affair on the first 2 exchange. I couldn't tell from there who had the lead right there.
I want to say, I got to keep in mind, I said that is a potential 41-second team than the previous heat. They probably are if their first leg has blocks. And I mean, these guys are doing this without starting blocks, so.
That's a plus.
That's a couple tenths, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
All right, heat number 3. Lewis E. Dyruff, Sanenda Hoa from New York, Springbrook, Henderson, Arthur P. Shalik, Ballston Lake, Nyack, Downingtown East, and Somerville. A lot of schools from the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. And we are underway.
It's lane 5. And that's Arthur P. Shalik, maybe there?
All right, in 7, that is Nyack from New York. Somerville on the outside from New Jersey, Downingtown East in between them, but it is Nyack. Smooth pass, midway through the zone, they have the lead, headed for home, right along the lane line, Nyack.
Their exchange is pretty okay.
Yeah, I saw a couple steps on that line.
The 3rd and 4th exchanges was on point. I couldn't tell on the backstretch the first 2 exchanges, but the 3rd and 4th looks good. 42:69 for Nyack.
Yeah, if I'm their coach, I want to just remind my anchor leg, you got to stay off that line because that could get us in some trouble.
Absolutely. If you heard another starter's gun in the background, we have some youngsters sprinting on the infield on the football playing surface at Franklin Field. All kinds of things going on all over the place. We had a high jumper attempting 7-1 earlier, the rhythmic clapping. This is a track and field carnival. That's what they called it, right?
Right, yeah. A lot of things going on.
All right. And that's
Carnival
just
in
inside
here.
the stadium. Yeah,
It's
I
a
know,
circus out there.
It's a circus.
In a good way.
It is. All right, we're underway. And looking good in lane 3, trying to hold that speed. That is Wilkes-Barre area from the Northeast PA. And
Cedar
that
Valley.
team, that team did not get the baton pass, cleanly passed.
Cedar Valley made up tremendous amount of ground on the backstretch there. Cedar Valley.
That is Cedar Valley in lane 7, as Sean said, with the lead by about 5 meters. But inside, I see a couple of squads inside that rail in lane 2. That is Fordham Prep. Can they get there? And in 3, Wilkes-Barre area with a huge anchor. Holy smokes, 42.90. They were strong early and strong late. And they get the win, 42.90.
With the 3rd and 4th exchange from Cedar Valley, I went to cash my ticket. So I lost. So I don't know what to say just now, but clean running there from the winner. I mean, much the best on the ankle leg.
And they
were behind.
A good opener. And again, our optics, lanes 1, 2, and 3 are sort of out of my field of vision. I really have to focus on the inside, especially the guys in lane 1. There's the finish. But wow, what a run.
He pulled away in the last couple meters.
Yeah. He was still gaining speed.
Yep.
Another clean start. Heat number 5, event 129. The final grouping of 4x1 relays is 1:30. That is up next. Many of the Jamaican teams will be in those final heats. And down the back straightaway, Archbishop Stepanak in 9.
Baltimore
some difficulty
Tech,
in
second
7.
leg.
Baltimore Tech, yeah, they had some difficulty with that baton pass.
But their second leg was good, great form.
I've seen Archbishop Stepanak having a ton of problems.
Hatboro Horsham. They have been one of the top distance programs on both the boys and girls side in Pennsylvania, but they get the win here, 42-46 in the 4x1 relay.
Fast time for them there too. Maybe there's a PR for them. 42-46.
So again, a heavy influence of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic in that heat, but we do have teams from across the country, both high school and collegiate.
The exchange we've seen so far, the entire day, it's early for the U.S. teams. And I would expect as the season progresses, these youngsters get better with their stick passes. Right now, it's early for them.
Mm-hmm.
Penn Relays sometimes the first relay they're running. So we have to give them some form of credit just to be here, participating or competing, put it this way, and not having the best of stick passes.
Oop. And a call back on that one. I don't know if we'll get a red card out of this. We do get a conferring between our starters again, who we have to tip our hat to them. They keep this meet moving along. Again, attempt to pass along the knowledge they have to these athletes of where they need to be, how they need to be set up. And looks, what do we have? We have a green card. That's good to see.
It's always good to see a green card.
Now, Sean, I had a thought in my head. When you break down a race, when you break down, an athlete's performance, are you a video guy, or you just see and you automatically commit to memory what you saw with your eyes, or do you go back and use one of these smartphones as a aid?
Just what you see with your eyes. As a coach, it's all about your eyes. It's all about what you see with your eyes, because that's what you use to fix the problem with an athlete.
In real time, rather than slowing it down with the
everything is with your eyes, right then and there. Immediately right there on spot, without the technology.
All right, Sussex Central in 9, looking pretty decent. In 7, that is Salesianum from Delaware as well. So they may meet up down the road at the Delaware State Championships, but inside in 5 just had difficulty with that baton pass. That is Elizabeth from New Jersey. I thought they were pulling away, and they lost that momentum. And we're going to go one lane inside. In lane 4, Pope John Paul II from Pennsylvania is going to win this one by about 3 meters. Again, being consistent now in the 42s, guys, we are going to get better and faster with these times as we look at some of the top times in the country. And it's an interesting note here. There has always been at least one U.S. team in the final, in the championship final of this event. And I go, you mentioned Bullis, Archbishop Carroll, but there are so many Jamaican teams right around them. There is no room for error going in out of these heats today to make the final.
Again, remember the Jamaicans coming in. We're coming in with the advantage already. The mechanics is already in place. The speed is already there. The coaching is already there. So we here at this time of the year is a delay. We get going in June, July. Our kids actually get into you've seen the best of them in June, July, as you can see in Texas and the entire country.
Yeah, I think that was a glass half full way of saying we almost got shut out 1 year. the biggest, the country with 10 states here almost got shut out by one.
All right, Owen J. Roberts in 1 was looking pretty good in the red and white, but on the outside in lane 9, that is Upper Darby. But it is Owen J. Roberts looking solid inside, outside. Who's going to get the win? It is Owen J. Roberts. 42-62.
From lane 1. I'm always impressed when I see you winning from lane 1 at Franklin Field Stadium. The turns are tight, short straightaways. Winning from lane 1, you're much the best.
And I mean, I want to give the guys out in lane 9 kudos, man. That that turn with the 3rd and 4th leg on that wall, that could be scary, man. That brick
That's
don't
very
move.
Intimidating right there.
That brick.
As an athlete,
That's a 100-year-old brick.
And the crowd is their hands over.
True, yeah.
Well, and I've always mentioned that on 200-meter banked ovals,
I agree.
indoor, when you have that rail, it is in your eye the whole way on both turns. Especially you're running like a 4x2 and you're the lead off. It's like, holy smokes.
I completely agree.
You can't get away from it.
But those are rails.
Yes.
Not just the rail, but the shape of the bank track. It's tilted. It's tilted.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's tilted. If the athletes are not prepared, condition themselves over the surface like that, they could end up in the stands.
They don't make many things like they used to make brick back in the day.
Yes.
That's on that wall.
Again, that is old brick. This is true. All right, wow, looking good in lane 8. Good counsel from Maryland. They are stepping out on this one, guys. Good counsels. Can they keep it up with the baton pass from 2nd to 3rd? Looking pretty decent. A runaway in lane 8.
Haven't seen many runaways in this.
Nope. All right, good counsel. Kept the momentum going forward. This is, we will call it, a wire-to-wire victory for Good Counsel.
But I could tell you one thing, they're living up to their name, Good Counsel. They really gave this field a good counseling.
42-38, number 2.
42-38.
I am writing that one down. we should have started a quote board at the start of the weekend.
I mean, they live up to their name very well there. Good Counsel, huh?
All right, Grayton, Williams, Handon, and Folks from Good Counsel, 42-38. Again, wire to wire in that heat number 8. Look at the crowd, guys. It is filling up at Franklin Field.
On a Thursday.
On a Thursday. And the breeze again picking up. You can feel it where our location. You see the streamers down at the end of the long jump runway. They're not standing still, not limp at all.
And that's going to make look at the temperature right now. Is that the conditions, current conditions, 79 degrees?
It's not noon. Oh, it just turned noon. 12 o'clock hour. It is 79 in Philadelphia, according to the track temperatures. Only 33% humidity. I think you had mentioned that before, Sean.
Yes, and this is awesome temperature here for athletes running. 79 degrees. The Jamaicans going to enjoy this. This is what we pray for. 79 degrees temperature, you know, to put on a showcase out here.
Springfield Montco in lane 7. We could have another wire-to-wire run. This one's a little closer. as in lane 5, that is LaSalle College, the 2 Pennsylvania squads, and it is LaSalle College going from second to first in the final 60 for the victory, and they're just a tenth of a second off the best we've seen. They ran 42-14.
We saw that coming, actually, because Springfield actually got the baton first.
Yep.
And we seen just now LaSalle, I mean, he wore him down. I mean, you saw him coming with giant strides.
So, Will, speaking of the relay teams back in Texas, who is the #1 squad in Texas right now? You mentioned about the 33 being under 41 seconds as we're getting closer to that territory here today at Penn.
Well, unlike last year when it was the Atascocita running 38 and Duncanville with 39.1, I don't think it's as clear cut as it was last year.